HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good morning to you. 6 a.m. hour brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. We thank you, Bradford White, because you guys are here for the pro, and we've known that for a long time. Hopefully your Super Bowl week is going along without much eventful stuff that is causing you any kind of angst or otherwise. I'm seeing all the pictures from Las Vegas and just dreaming about what might have been. Just dreaming about what could have been. That would have been epic. Arizona was great last year. But Las Vegas would have been absolutely epic. To see the Eagles take that 10-1 record and turn it into something, it still is not sitting well with me as the week goes along. But I'll get over it. Hopefully I won't need therapy over it. But it's just watching all these people enjoying Vegas and watching the teams talk about the Super Bowl coming up. It has been a busy week to start. Yesterday, though, right at the end of the show, we got word that Joel Embiid had his procedure. So first thing in the morning, Joel goes in, gets the procedure, and now we end up with what has become sort of typical for when you're dealing with the Sixers organization. We'll reevaluate it in 4 weeks. Bob, between what you and Pat said was going to happen and what you thought could happen when Joel had the procedure otherwise, it almost happened exactly to script. And honestly, I'm still baffled today as what does reevaluate in 4 weeks mean? And I'm wondering, is this the Sixers organization already knowing what they plan to do, but kicking the can of expectation so their fan base doesn't check out on this team?
You hope not. Yeah. All right, let's look at it this way. Good news. They didn't go in there and say, yeah, it's worse than we thought, and his season is over. Okay, that's what you have to take out of it. And that's, professionally, that's how you have to look at it. Like, oh, good. They're going to look at him in 4 weeks and see what goes on. The understanding isn't really clear to me. Is it that between now and 4 weeks he will work out and try to get that knee to a spot, look to revamp it, and then in 4 weeks look and see where he is as far as playing goes? Or is it rest up from what they did now?
For 4 weeks.
For 4 weeks, and then in 4 weeks look at it and say, okay, now we're going to plan a course of action. Not really sure on that. But, yeah, like I said, we want him to play. We all want him to play. We all want him to be healthy. The fact that they didn't come out and say, yeah, the season's over, it's worse than we thought, all right, that's good news. Moving forward, I would have loved a definitive answer yesterday. It wasn't as bad. We're looking to get him back this season, hopefully, in 4, and explain. What does that mean that you're going to go for 4 weeks and then reevaluate? Is he working out in the 4 weeks? No, they might not know. They might have gotten the doctor's report. They're probably putting up a plan together. During those 4 weeks, I would assume there's going to be some limited stuff that he's going to try to do, that he's going to do. But it's kind of all like just murky. 4 weeks means what? Total rest and then look at it? Is that what reevaluation is? Or, like I said, is there some activity that goes on and then at 4 weeks you see how much you can up that? I don't know.
Well, one of the things about it, Pat, that frustrated me so much is 4 weeks, you absolutely could be easily in the play-in tournament. And then that changes my whole agenda. If you tell me, if I wake up, the Sixers are the 5 seed right now. If you tell me that in 4 weeks the Sixers are going to be the 8 or the 9, then my opinion on what to do with Joel Embiid may change. My idea of, is it worth trying to get him back, rush him back, and get him in there for a season that looks like it's pretty much in the crapper at that point?
I really hope that the 2-sentence press release that went out, they have way more information than we do on an actual timetable. And it's not just, yeah, we'll tell the media and the public it's we're reevaluating in 4 weeks, but yeah, it was worse than we thought. He can't go, because you're right. I mean, I don't want to be sitting here in a month and it's like he is far, far away from returning. And you might have used some assets to buy something at the deadline, or you have to have some kind of idea of how it's going to go. Because if not, it's putting this franchise behind the 8 ball in a lot of ways.
I can't help but think that they do know, though, Pat. You know what I mean? Like, I just suspect it.
I would think, that they would have some idea. They talked to the doctor, and he didn't give him a 2-word answer on just, hey, by the way, surgery went well, reevaluate in 4 weeks. Like, he had some idea. But they have to know more, because it can't just be a 2-sentence statement, and that's all they know. No, they have to have some clue, and I think we'll find out Thursday about what they do with the deadline.
Or it could lean more towards what John said, that maybe they are like us, that after that or during this 4-week period and all of that encompassing, and you look at the record and you see what his progression may be, do you balance those two dilemmas, for lack of a better term, and say, okay, do we move forward with this? Try to get him back. We've lost, 12 of 15.
Let's say they're the 8th seed. 4 weeks from today, they're sitting in the 8th seed.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that that's exactly what they're thinking is also. This leaves it wide open. This lets you say, like, look, maybe they were told by the doctor, and it's as murky as that. I don't think it is. But, maybe in 4 weeks he's good. He's good to really start resuming basketball activity. And maybe you're there. And maybe somehow a Tyrese Maxey-led team keeps you above water and you're at the 5-6 seed. And then maybe you say, well, should we give this a shot? And that's not even including whatever Daryl Morey may decide to do come Thursday at 3 o'clock.
I was around teams before, once working for one, where at the trade deadline, when a team was having a good season, they felt that the organization did nothing to bolster them to when they started to sag a bit. And they didn't like the fact that the organization really went and did nothing to bolster them at the trade deadline. What do you think that locker room's feeling today? We're now 33 hours to the trade deadline. Like, are the veterans in that locker room? Are guys like Tyrese Maxey going, guys, throw me a lifeline? I know you're saying it's 4 weeks for Joel, but we need to not just fall out of this, and we're expecting you to do something. How do you balance that if you're Daryl Morey? The idea that you want to how do you keep this season somewhat relevant without abandoning a long-term plan?
You go to stars and you go to really good players on a team, they're going to say, we're good. Like, they're not going to be pissed you didn't get more, Do you always want to be better? Sure. But if I went to Tyrese Maxey and said, like, you need help on this? I'm sure he's like, I have my help. I have Nico Batum. I have this. And although we know that that's probably not enough.
Doesn't he know? And he's going to say the right things?
Yeah, he's saying the right things, but who wouldn't want? Yeah, if you could bring in a DeMar DeRozan, if you could bring in somebody like a 20-point scorer, something like that, I'm sure they all wouldn't mind that. But no, we're not going to hear that from them. They're going to think that they have enough to look. Everybody ups their games in their minds when a star goes out. Tyrese Maxey, okay, now I'm the leader. Tobias Harris is like, okay, now I got to score 20, 25 a game. Marcus Morris, all those guys are like, yep, I got to be better. We can do this. I got to do that. Would they love the added addition? Sure. I mean, who wouldn't?
Hey, the Warriors come in tonight, Pat, and I'd imagine a Philly welcome is in store for one of the Warriors that I guess there are still people who believe that it was purposeful that Joel Embiid got injured.
Totally. I mean, Jonathan Kuminga absolutely went there.
He had eyes behind his back of his head.
As soon as Joel Embiid went down, he just decided to elbow drop right on a knee. I mean, come on. No.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
If you're booing Jonathan Kuminga, the person we should be booing is whoever decided to keep Joel Embiid in that game after his knee buckled. Exactly. And it became very, very evident that it was not going to be Joel Embiid tonight. That's the person we should boo about this, not Jonathan Kuminga.
Golden State did a pretty cool thing yesterday.
Okay, what did they do?
They had their practice at the Palestra.
Okay, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's cool.
I love to hear that when a Steve Kerr comes into town. And the other day, when Kevin Stefanski came into town during the preseason to play the Eagles here, took his team to the Palestra and let them play pickup ball there to say, like, look, this is one of the most revered places there is. There was another pro team that just came in couple of weeks ago, but they couldn't get over there because of the winter storm or whatever. But I love that. I love that in sports.
Would young players today even know the Palestra? Or have they just heard about it maybe from their dads? I mean, it really doesn't hold the same. It holds the same luster for guys in our generation. I don't know about pads.
Well,
it means the same.
It's always passed down, right? It was built in 1927.
Exactly.
Believe it or not, Pat, I wasn't born in 27.
You did interview the builder, though.
You were 28.
I wasn't around for the first 50 years of the Palestra, but somehow, yeah, I found all its glory. Our son Kyle, who played 1 year at LaSalle, he got to play at the Palestra.
It's amazing.
He got to play at a bunch of places. He played over in Ireland. Nothing. He said he played at the Wells Fargo Center against Villanova. Nothing, he said, compared to the Palestra. So I hope these kids get it. I was texting with somebody over at Penn yesterday, and I said, hey, if you get a chance to go over and see their practice, watch Steph Curry just warm up. It was one of my favorite things to do in the NBA when I was covering it. Watch him just warm up for a game or a practice.
I heard on ESPN overnights that there is a little bit of a anxiety going on around that team right now, though, that they believe that teams have called about Klay Thompson. And would they ever think about moving on from Klay Thompson, who is really struggling? And by the way, it's going to concern me, too, about the Sixers' long-term chances and what the plan should be when I watch them play the Warriors tonight, because the Warriors are a bad team. They're not in the playoffs right now. They're not even in the 10. They're the 11 seed in the West. They're not a good basketball team. And if they come in here and spank you again like they did the other night, I'm going to be I honestly, I'm going to be more in the, okay, maybe we need to shut this thing down for Joel Embiid and look towards the long-term picture. Because this isn't
What do you mean
Warriors.
shut it down?
Like, as far as shut down the expectations of him coming back this year. And don't make any moves at that trade deadline. I want to watch tonight.
I don't think you do that after tonight's game, do you? Do you let one game let that?
No, I don't know. I don't think you say it, but the Sixers are doing everything clandestine and anything anyway. So just don't say it. There's no need to tell us. But behind the scenes, you say, look, guys, we're not even beating a team that's at the bottom of the Western Conference, one of the 7 or 8 worst teams in the NBA right now, record-wise. And we can't beat them on our home court without Joel. We're not going to be able to tread water when we play Boston, Milwaukee, and all these Cleveland, and all these big teams coming up. It's better to just plan on we're not telling anybody, but it'd be better to plan on not having Joel come back this year.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough because
it's competitors.
You're a brand new team now, and you're trying to learn how to play without Joel Embiid. Everything that you did on both ends of the floor went through Joel Embiid, and now he's gone. And I mean everything. We talked about how much he touches the ball in the offensive end of the floor. Now you don't have it. So you're a different team right now. And add to that you don't have DeAnthony Melton, that you don't have Robert Covington, that guys are sick and guys are hurt and all that. You don't know who you are right now. So, I don't know. Going out and losing to a Golden State, should that happen tonight, this has to be like a long haul to look at and to scrutinize, but you just don't have that time because the trade deadline's a little over 48 hours away.
I mean, tomorrow.
A little over 24.
I mean, Ty, Ricky, and Jen get get to watch the clock, watch the sands fall right through that hourglass tomorrow afternoon, and figure out what are the Sixers going to do unless a move comes down beforehand. We will, of course, have it all for you.
Most anxious moments of my life, John.
Because you didn't know what you had to
process,
right?
And that there's things flying all over the place. And between like 1 and 4 o'clock, being on that phone and having your phone buzzing and go. I remember one day on the trade deadline, getting in my car at PCOM after practice. So it's only like 12:30, and I see 2 guys, and I brought this story up to Pat before, and they're on the phone and stuff like that, and 2 guys on the team, and I roll my window down, like, you all right? And he goes, nah, I just got traded. I was like, you're kidding me. He goes, yeah, they just called me. I just got traded. It was like a bench guy, nothing major
but
or whatever.
But a free-for-all.
But, yeah, so I said, all right, let me pull over. Let's talk about this, and sat there and wrote the story about him getting traded in the parking lot of PCOM. That's the craziness. That's just me as a sports writer. Imagine how crazy it is for players, GMs, coaches.
I can't imagine.
And now the Sixers, what do you do? The busyness I can't even imagine with Joel Embiid out now.
Could you imagine waking up like today and saying to your wife, yeah, tomorrow we might be in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we might be packing up and moving to, it's there's a different pay grade. There's different things that are involved. There's different benefits, but it still sucks. And these people are still people.
I told you the story about Mark Recchi's wife being in our Daily News offices because we were doing a story on their family. And we were taking her up to get her picture taken. And just as we were, her phone rang and she said, hold on a second, came back crying her eyes out. Recky had just gotten traded.
Oh my gosh.
And that's a guy that bounced around the league. So
Sure.
yeah, it's a tough toll.
I want an extreme home makeover. No, not at my house. For one of my favorite teams. We'll get to it first. Next, John Kincade Show, 97.5 The
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Appreciate you being with us. You'll have your chance to win Stadium Series tickets to go see the Flyers and the Devils coming up next Saturday night at MetLife Stadium. It's going to be pretty awesome. The Navy Federal Credit Union NHL Stadium Series, and big win by the Flyers last night.
I'll tell you what, it was. It was. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
first 10 minutes were atrocious. Well, that was some of the worst hockey I've seen them play this year, and they survived it.
It was funny because I saw Haley's tweets because I was like getting my show stuff together, so I was on my phone during the game,
right.
And I saw Haley's tweets like, "Oh, this is horrible," and I'm watching. I'm going, "This has a lot more to do with the Panthers than it has to do with the Flyers."
Panthers are a really good club.
They are, and they were just overpowering them. And then, I thought you're looking at it and you're saying, "Ooh, is this going to be a blowout? Going to be a blowout?" And they held on. Get through the first period, and then, that's a gutsy win by them. That was a really good win. And, the Panthers are really chippy, and, they love to try to intimidate. Flyers are right there with them the whole time.
They were right there.
Yeah, and then, so it was a really good win. That was a fun game last night. A lot of offset, like I watched a lot of I watched a lot of St. Joe's Dayton last night also.
Okay.
St. Joe's hung early, played well early, and then, faltered. Dayton's really good. Watched a little bit of the national Clemson, North Carolina.
Clemson won that game, yeah.
Yeah, they get the upset in North Carolina. But the Flyers game was my main focus, and that was good. And Earson was really good again.
Pat, I have a what might seem like blasphemy. Could Danny Briere get a veteran journeyman goalie? Just that Earson... Because
it could. I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it at the trade deadline.
I'm not being a buyer at the deadline.
Even if it was like an expiring contract type of thing where you got somebody that's just a short-term type of rental?
Not giving up assets.
Okay.
Yeah, and they drafted goalies like crazy over the last 3-4 years. So you got guys coming up.
I just don't know if you're I don't want to see them break the wheels off Earson. I don't want them to. Because
even if they do, this isn't the year to win anyway, so... It's not like he's going to be ruined for the rest of his career if he plays a lot this year. It should be good. You just don't make the same mistake you made with Bobrovsky where you went, oh, well, he can't be it. It's like, well, yeah, he played 25 more games than he's ever played in his career. That's why he's tired. But the organization was like, no, we need Brizgalov. Give me Brizgalov. And
right.
It wasn't hard to figure out why Bobrovsky started off strong and then faltered towards the end. But this isn't the year to compete anyway, realistically.
So you would not in any way, shape, or form even consider it?
No, I'm open for business. I'm selling, if anything. I'm not buying.
I think does it in any way, just before we move on, does it in any way adjust you at all that if it, 3 weeks from now, you're still in playoff position? About selling, Pat. About selling.
It wouldn't change my opinion.
Like you're up right now. You're 5 points above you're 4 points, well, really 5. Up on a playoff position right now. If 3 weeks from today, you're 5 points up on a playoff position, do you say, we're not selling? I'm not talking about going buying, but do you say, you know what, we're not going to consider selling because this team could sneak into the playoffs and get that experience, which, by the way, I think would be valuable.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's valuable. I'm selling, but in the sense of, I need to be blown away by an offer. I'm not just...
Okay.
Not just selling off part. Last year, the fact that they didn't trade JVR for anything was a joke. I'm not doing one of those. I need to be blown away for Scott Lawton to trade Scott Lawton. If you want to sit there and, meet a ridiculous asking price, and we can talk, but I'm not just trading Scott Lawton for a third round pick because that's the best I can get. No, I'd rather keep him at that point.
I am doing nothing if /playoffs is attached to the sentence of what I do. You know what I mean?
I understand the thought process.
Playoffs would be, and you're right, John. Getting the experience of playoffs for a lot of these young players is probably a year, maybe 2 years ahead of what they thought. What I'm doing is keeping the eye on the future. If I'm making any moves, it doesn't say, it better not say at all. Because come the playoffs, ... No. Well, I don't care about that. Everything is to the future. If you make the playoffs this year, it's a side nice note that you gain that experience. That's all.
By the way, I didn't like Torts was commenting on Scott Lawton, and I guess some of the numbers for Scott Lawton not being what you would expect. And I would think if you ever even were going to consider Pat moving him, you don't want your head coach sort of like, I think he talks about how valuable he still is, but also sort of bags on him a little bit and just says, hey.
Yeah, if I'm Danny Briere looking to trade him, I'm probably not happy, but I don't think that kills value at all.
Okay, you think the league
value,
understands it?
Yeah, you can get a lot for Scott Lawton. He's signed under contract for, I think, 2 more years. It's a very affordable price. And around this time, every playoff team's looking for bottom 6 talent.
Absolutely.
He's the bottom 6 forward. You're in the playoffs because you have the top 6 guys, but the bottom 6 guys, for the most part, you rarely have that kind of depth. So you could get a lot for Scott Lawton. I don't think Torts would kill that value at all.
Rarely do I come into the television room where my wife isn't watching HGTV. And I don't know if, Pat, I don't think you're an HGTV person, are you?
Not
all. A bit. Bob, do you, I think Donna likes it, right?
Donna's huge on it. HGTV.
Where you like the people doing home fix it. And
yeah, we got this house that we have now a couple years ago, and we totally redid it, and I did a lot of,
did a lot of work yourself, too.
Yeah, so I didn't mind watching it then, but no, not now.
Okay, well, there's this show, and with this guy, Ben Napier, and his wife, his cute little blonde.
What do you say, Ben and Blondie?
And they're down in like Laurel, Mississippi. And they
wait. Is this the big dude with the beard?
Yeah, the big dude with the beard.
Yeah.
Looks like Landon Dickerson a little bit.
I've seen that show a couple of times.
And he's really good, and they've literally redone like an entire town, an entire like neighborhood where they've done almost every old house in the neighborhood and got him going. He said something, and it made me think, and I'm sitting having lunch, and he's saying something on the show and it to the homeowners, and it made me think about the Eagles. He was like, they were saying, here's our budget that we had to do the renovation of this home and to do it. Well, they ended up running into some problems. And he said, this isn't a major issue. He said, we don't have to do the big fix on it. He said, but at some time, just know this is going to cause you problems. If we don't fix this drainage issue, at some point, this was going to cause these young homeowners problems. So he was trying to say to them, it's an extra 10 grand for me to do this, but you've got to do this. He says, and I'm telling you right now, you're going to end up paying this bill one way or another. You're going to pay it now, or you're going to pay it after you've already moved into your dream home. And it made me think about the Eagles offseason. There's one thing about rolling it back, and we're seeing that with the Phillies. Dave Dombrowski has sort of taken that thing. They're rolling it back. They think they're good enough, and they're going to roll it back, and they're going to go for it with what they've got. I wonder what Howie Roseman's thinking today, and how much of rolling it back does he think is potentially even an option, or after the collapse of 1-6 down the stretch, is he saying, you know what? I'm going to listen to that Ben Napier guy. I'm going to tear up the studs and do a more extreme makeover of this home, of this roster, to make sure that I don't have problems, that next year we're not having to fix bigger issues down the line. I wonder how aggressive Howie's going to be on remaking the 2024 Eagles. And I will tell you right now, just looking at some of the ages and looking at some of the potential weak spots in the house, in the foundation, I really hope that Howie's thinking a youth movement and really thinking about getting as much as he can and not worrying about, well, we got to get back in 2024. We have to put together a team in 2024 that is going to be right back to that Super Bowl quality and just pushing all the chips to the table and rolling the dice.
What chips? The ones that you already have?
Yeah, like him saying as far as...
It's not good enough. Like, I think this problem is already out there. He has to. So if he goes to the counter, right, he's with, what's your guy's name, Ben?
Ben Napier.
All right, so him and Ben, they go to the store, and they say, okay, this is what, let's just go to the living room first. All right, we'll call linebackers couches.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Can I have 2, please? I need 2 couches because we don't have any yet. Okay, what about corner pieces, cornerbacks? Oh, yeah, we're going to need like maybe 2, but at least 1.5. So let's get 1.5 of those. All right, safeties, like, little things to hang around so the kids don't get hurt. Ooh, we're going to need 1.5 of those too. Okay, how about the defensive line? How about where people walk in and stuff like that? What do you need there? Ooh, yeah, I have one thing, but I need a little bit more. He doesn't have a choice.
He's got to do it.
He's got to. Look at that's just the defense.
I look at what the Chiefs did last year, Pat, and they won a Super Bowl, and they were putting like 5 young, fresh faces out there. And like they half of their defense was honestly completely raw as far as either being first-year guys, being inexperienced guys, or otherwise. And then Spags got them playing well. By the time they were in November, December, they were playing well last year.
Yeah, I want to look at the Chiefs last year, though, as that's the mark of like, well, they did it so we can do it. I mean, the Chiefs last year won because of their offense, not necessarily because of their defense.
I think that's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
It can be done. I don't have a problem with mixing in a youth movement in certain areas, but I don't want a full, cornerback room that is second year and under. I mean, I need a vet in there somewhere, whether it be Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox, both, what have you. I don't mind replacing one guy, and I think that's the thing. You need to sprinkle in a youth movement, but you can't have, let's say they go out and this would never happen, but they draft a linebacker in the first and the second round.
Right.
I don't want to see that happen. I think you need some kind of vet in place, but they've kind of done that with the defensive tackle spot. Like next year, you're going to have Jordan Davis right next to Jalen Carter, and it's like year 3, year 2. And you can make the case that for Jordan Davis, it's kind of like year 2.5 because his first year he barely played. So I don't have a problem with doing a youth movement. It's got to be sprinkled around. It can't just be like, oh, well, that's it, just youth all around.
I looked at the you played the game with us last week, and it was eye opening. The Packers had one of the largest dead cap money in the NFL. The Packers had the youngest roster in the NFL that had made the playoffs since 1974 or something. And everybody's high on where they're going and everything. And I know that we say you can't do this move at corner, you can't do that because you can't have the dead cap money. The Packers had like $65 million or something in dead cap money with Aaron Rodgers and then more players. And they managed to make the playoffs. I'd be fine with that if it was just like a wild card year or something like that, if you really were doing things that set you up for long-term success. And I'm not sure that like spackling and saying we can't cut somebody because of dead cap money. The Indianapolis Colts showed it this year. They made the playoffs. Tons of dead cap money. Like you can. The Eagles, what they did with the dead cap money of Carson Wentz was crazy. I don't want to hear that, well, we can't do that. We got to bring these guys back because of the dead cap hit. I would almost rather take the kick to the privates and do it right and say, we acknowledge this isn't good enough, so we need to go and we need to get younger.
You don't have that luxury, though, because you got to assign Devontae Smith to an extension. You've got somebody else that's up for an extension, too. So I don't know if you have the luxury this year of doing a dead cap, like multiple dead cap hits that are going to add up. I'm not worried about the cap with Howie, but I'm not going to usher out a guy just for the sake of doing it to get younger.
I got you.
When I have to, pay Devontae Smith, I got to extend that guy, and I might have to pay for a running back.
Well, I'm always told don't worry about Howie and money.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't worry about it necessarily, but you still need the money. Like you need it. You need it somewhere.
Still want the right move.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you go to a veteran and say, hey, let's restructure, and the guy says no, and then you're like, well, only so much I can do at that point.
It is I can't wait to watch this whole thing unfold. Well, obviously it's Super Bowl week, but I'm already looking to 2024 in the offseason.
There's going to have to be a really good sprinkling of ingredients here. Like Howie's going to have, you want to go to not HGTV, we'll move it over to the Food Network. Howie's going to have to be a really good chef this offseason. So it's not just a sprinkling of one huge ingredient, which is rookies. No, you're going to have to sprinkle in some rookies. You're going to have to sprinkle in some free agents, maybe some veterans that are leaving other teams that could be a fit here. That has to all be done. There's a lot of it to go, a lot of it. And last year, really, especially those last 7 games, they really smacked people in the face to say, wow, these guys just aren't good enough on the defensive side of the ball. And so now you have to replace a whole bunch of people. You've brought up a lot about the overaged corners.
Sure.
Where do you go from there? You have another corner, a slot corner that you thought was good enough but can't stay on the field. let alone safeties, linebackers, all of those things. There has to be a great sprinkling. You can't go in, and we all know this, you can't go in and say, yep, we're going to hit it on the draft, and we're going to have a bunch of rookies starting next year. That's probably not the right recipe either.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that would be a winning formula. Pat, where's your 3% this morning on Jason Kelce?
It's about 4.5.
4.5. I mean,
Yeah.
It seems like there's some.
It's trending up.
He's coming back.
So you think he's coming back?
I do. I really do.
I'm kind of leaning towards he comes back.
Why are
You're
you
only at
getting
4.5?
Why
Well,
are you,
but
why are you
it's
getting?
trending up.
Why
It's
is your
trending
opinion
up.
getting swung?
Look,
mean-
it's not so much the video that came out of the Pro Bowl of some fan yelling, "Please don't retire," and he's like, "Oh, I'm trying not to." But I do think that the more he gets away from this season and he has time to sit there and think, and his body gets healthy, I don't want to say you get fooled into thinking I got one more run in me, but you tend to forget the bumps and the bruises that take place during a season. You go, okay, like I can do this again. And yeah, I there's a chance that free agency hits and he goes, all right, I like what they did, and I'll come back. I don't think we're gonna get an answer like we did last year. Last year we got it right
Like
before
2
training
days
camp.
before training.
Yeah, and they knew well before that he was coming back. But I think this is going to be more in flux, and we might not get an answer till May.
I heard Andrew getting frustrated yesterday that the idea that a fan had called in and said they're tired of this merry-go-round with Kelce every year. Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? Do we know if he's part of the team or do we not know if he's part of the team? And Andrew was like, look, he's a Pro Bowler. He can do whatever he wants. But at some point, don't you need him to say, okay, yeah, I'm here, and not have to be sort of lured back?
It doesn't matter what we need. It matters what Howie has told him when he needs a decision. Hey, Jason, I respect what you want to do. If we can work out something and you want to come back, we're all ears. But you need to let me know by. And I do understand it because I lean a lot more towards the humanity side of athletes, maybe more than most listening now and stuff like that, only because we're lucky enough to have been around for a longer time than a lot of people. Yeah, it's a real thing. When his wife was sitting on the porch watching him limp around to try to play with his kids on the front lawn and saying, the toll that this takes on his body scares me. And look, you sit down with your wife and she's in tears saying, I'm afraid for you, for the future of our family, of what's going to become of your body. That's huge, man. Like, that's real.
And I'm thinking, what would have changed in that message from Kylie Kelce? Like, what would she have seen in the last that she's going to be convinced to be like, yeah, I'm all behind you. I'm all behind you, because those concerns were real. When you watch the documentary, she had real concerns, valid concerns.
And so did he.
As he did.
Remember, at the end of it, he's going like, look, I'm well aware of the CTE. I'm a healthy man for 35 years old. I'm a professional athlete. But for a normal 35-year-old, I'm going to be limping around in a few years, and we've all seen it with those guys. It's not easy. It's, like I use the term robotic a lot, and how a lot of people look at athletes. They're not. Like, they're just not.
No.
I don't want my wife walking around with a limp and hardly being able to get out of bed at 35 years old.
Well, start doing stuff around the house so she doesn't have to. She's
Me?
tired of, I mean, seriously. She has to
you're
carry.
barking up the wrong tree there. I couldn't go to a high school game last night because I was cooking dinner.
That's good. I mean,
Yeah,
nice little dinner. What'd you cook?
Yeah, what'd you
Lemon
have?
chicken. Lemon chicken.
Oh.
Some corn, some rice, and a salad.
Really? Who was telling me it was either someone behind the scenes here at the Fanatic, and I'm drawing a blank on who just told me that citrus is the key to every.
So I had lemon. I was actually
cooking.
thinking of you because I made the lemon chicken. You take it out and then you make a little sauce with lemon zest in it. And I was laughing because the other day you weren't really sure what lemon. You've never used lemon zest,
yes.
I should say. Lemon zest has such a great flavor.
Ooh.
And
I love
I
lemon.
had that little chicken broth, some garlic, salt and pepper. Oh yeah, it was ready to roll.
That sounds really, really good. That sounds really good.
Little lemon juice, Pat.
We're going to tell you a little bit later
Sure.
that someone is going to be joining us. The team at 97.5 The Fanatic getting a little bit bigger tomorrow. You're going to meet them. So we look forward to that. We'll tell you that a little bit about that secret coming up in just a few moments, and we'll tell you that. But I asked the idea is, would the Flyers ever consider being sellers at the deadline? The question is, would Daryl Morey ever consider it? And would that tell us the secret behind Joel Embiid's procedure yesterday? We'll get to that next. It's the John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update. Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Randy Esposito's already checked in on email regarding the Sixers.
Say, Randy.
I wonder if he's related to Phil or Tony. Not sure, but he says, John, glad you're well. I think we're missing a key point on the Sixers' lack of clear commentary on like where this season's going and what happened with Joel Embiid. He said season ticket commitments for the playoffs and for next season are about to be due.
Well, you did address that, I thought. You said that the Sixers might not be being, telling the whole truth because you want ticket sales to still go well.
Yeah,
so.
I was figuring you didn't want the fan base to check out, but I didn't.
Right.
But I wasn't really thinking about it that way. I wasn't thinking about it as far as, wow, there's a renewal for next year. And fans may be like, I'm not really feeling this.
I don't think it has anything to do with it.
So you don't?
Playoffs, yeah. I'll give you that. Playoffs. But next year, every Sixers fan expects Joel Embiid to be healthy. So, because he's usually healthy at the beginning of the year. So I don't think one would have to do with the other. I think if anything, what you saw this year from Joel Embiid, knowing, okay, he might not be ready for the playoffs, he might be out for the year, that would actually get you to re-up even more because you go, okay, let's see this thing through. The frustration of what's happened, I don't think that goes, all right, that's it, throw my hands up, I'm done for next year. Next year, it's like, well, Bob, you laid it out. They've got two guys under contract, right? I mean, Maxey will be back, but they've got two guys under contract now. They got a lot of cap space. They've got some assets. So, yeah, all right, let's see Daryl Morey cook a little bit. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's just that's the way the Sixers operate. They're very cryptic in nature. They don't want to make promises they can't keep, and they don't want to say, okay, he's going to be back on the court in 4 weeks when you just never know with this franchise,
I believe it was you or was it Jamie back in the day, Pat, who booked the wrong guest?
So it was. It was
Were you
not
on the morning show with
yes,
this son?
I was. And
you
it's funny
booked
enough.
Randy Moss.
Funny enough, I actually just sent this to Jamie 15 minutes ago when I saw the story. But I didn't book Randy Moss. It was somebody else.
Somebody else booked you, Randy Moss, as a guest.
I was told, hey, we're getting Randy Moss on. So what do? I tweet out tomorrow, Randy Moss, and I have a GIF of the one and only Randy Moss.
Oh no!
And I get a text while I'm driving to a game, dude. It's the other Randy Moss, and my response was, "There's another Randy Moss."
You cannot say that there is a it's the other Randy Moss. I'm like, come on now.
So now I have to at a red light delete the tweet. I think I scheduled a push notification out to go out the night before of by the way, we're having Randy Moss on.
He's a horse racing.
Had no idea, right? He's a horse racing guy that routinely will watch football or some crap, and we got him booked. But that was, unfortunately, I'd like to tell you it was an accident on our part. It was not an accident. The person that booked him knew who he was.
Yeah, it happened to Boomer Esiason.
I saw
his
this.
Show.
Now that apparently was an accident.
It wasn't a yes. And Al, his producer's a real good dude, and so he's booking. Hey, it's Super Bowl week. We got a chance to get you Randy Moss, and he's like, dude. Love to get Randy Moss. Let's get him in here. It ends up being this horse racing guy. That's awesome.
And
that's awesome.
By the way, that Randy Moss, the second one,
was he a good dude?
He was, but he knows what he's doing, right? By the way, I'm available during Super Bowl week. It's like the guy for I think it's the Boys and Girls Club. His name is Marcus Allen.
Right.
Oh, we had him.
Yeah, we had him in. We had him in
studio. Him in studio, and you're like, all right, and we're getting Marcus Allen in, right? Former, did he win the Heisman or former Raider and all that? And no, it's just some guy whose name is Marcus Allen.
He caused OJ to go crazy. Marcus Allen.
Yeah, there was
Marcus
a little
Allen
bit of
part
a
of
tiff between the two about women and whatnot.
Yeah,
but this Marcus Allen, who works for a charity organization, he's just a good guy happens to share a name with him.
All right, the trade deadline we've been talking about in the NBA coming up, and Pat brought up a thing earlier. I said, if 3 weeks from now the Flyers are still where they are in playoff position they're 5 points out of being out of the playoffs. They're above the line right now. If it was 3 weeks from now, would that stop Keith Jones and Danny Briere from being sellers? Not buyers, but from being sellers and saying, you know what? do we balance the chance to have some potential really important games down the stretch and potentially playoff hockey for the experience for this group of just trying to unload some talent and pick up some future assets? I wonder what Daryl Morey's thinking today. And, Pat, it's one of the things you were talking about today is, could they end up being sellers? I mean, could this team be sellers, this Sixers team?
I think you really, really have to look at selling. I think you need to look at a lot of areas regarding tomorrow, but selling has to probably be at like 75%.
All right. Let me stop you right there.
No, let me stop you right there. This is my topic, Bob. You wait your turn.
With what goal in your mind?
Recouping assets. So you have so many guys that are expiring contracts, Bob. You've laid them out before. And a lot of those guys you got from the James Harden trade. So you're looking at a Marcus Morris probably being the number one guy, where if you're a contender, you probably look at him as a guy that can help you out. Like, he's having a pretty good season. He's fitting really well with the Sixers team. I think he's upped his value quite a bit. Nico Batum, same thing, right? Expiring contract.
And he's upped his value.
Oh, this pains me to say, but Pat Bev, I don't want to see him go, but he's an expiring contract. So I would have a quasi fire sale of these vets and trade them. And if you can get a bunch of draft picks, and I'm talking, second round picks, yeah. But those second round picks end up becoming like a DeAnthony Melton at the trade deadline, you could really, really set yourself up to do something at the draft and in free agency. But the reality is, Joel Embiid in a month from now, all right? So you're looking at March 6th. You go in there and reevaluate. We're probably looking at 2 more weeks until he gets on a court and starts dribbling a basketball with the dreaded team activities. And then you're probably looking at 2 more weeks after that. They're going to err on the abundance of caution. At that point, he hasn't played in 2 weeks. So you're entering the playoffs. You're probably at that point in the play-in tournament, and he hasn't played in 2 months. Do you expect him to be averaging 35? Because I certainly don't.
No, and I don't want him to be. I don't want him push. Like, I don't want it to be like one of his first games back is a playoff game.
No,
or is a win or go home game.
No, I don't either.
But you got to get money back too.
You do. So get trash back, and I'm talking like guys you can cut, expiring contracts. Now you're trading an expiring contract for an expiring contract, but I'm talking like if you trade a Marcus Morris for a dude who's an expiring another team's version of Furkan Korkmaz, then yeah, I mean, like, you're trading a valuable player just for the cap space and the draft pick equity. But the big thing for me is the February games. Like, you got 12 games in February, and you've got a murderer's row coming in of the Warriors tonight. You've got the Heat. You've got the Knicks. You've got the Bucks. You've got the Celtics. I don't see them winning all but maybe one of those games if you get lucky. I mean, it took Tyrese Maxey dropping 51 for you to win in Utah. So, the Cavaliers, they're pretty decent.
Cavaliers are the 2 seed.
They just got
now.
Darius Garland back. Yeah, you got to face them twice this month. The Wizards, okay, there's a win, but like, there's a chance you leave February and you have 2 wins,
or you're
in
buried.
February.
And
yeah,
you may
and
be
at that
buried.
point you're buried. So at that point, you might as well look at tomorrow. Okay, while I'd like to contend, and while the best case scenario is he's back in 6 weeks and 2 months, whatever. What is the end goal here? The end goal is winning a championship. And if you're not going to get that, then yeah, let's sell off some of these assets, get some draft equity back, get some flexibility where we can do something at the draft and bolster this roster up. Because Daryl Morey is really, really good at that. He's really good at draft day trades. He's shown it before. So I'd have no problem if they traded Tobias Harris for some draft pick equity, younger talent, something, But like, I'm open for business tomorrow.
Your fine line here is, if he does come back and he's Joel Embiid of what he was before this injury, and now you've brought in trash?
Yeah, that's the odds of that happening.
That is a danger.
It's not dangerous, though, because you've lived through it and I've lived through it. The odds of that happening are the odds of me waking up and I'm 6 foot tomorrow. Like, he's not going to come back and be the Joel Embiid 2 months afterwards.
They shouldn't fool themselves on anything.
And that's my point. Like, don't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to be a contender and that, we can kick the can down the road a little bit and Joel Embiid's going to return, because he's just not. The odds the odds that he returns from a meniscus surgery and not playing 2 months, and he is the Joel Embiid that we saw, 2 weeks ago, like let's be real with ourselves. That ain't happening.
You've seen this movie, you know the ending.
Yeah. So tomorrow, I don't want to see them add anything. I want to see them sell off pieces.
I think fans are going to be so pissed.
I'm not.
If they do
this
that, I
brings
think
me,
fans are going to be pissed.
it brings me no joy to bring up this topic. I mean, I don't want to be sitting here and looking at an April and May that's just devoid of any joy whatsoever. I don't want to be ushering in Philly season early, but there's a cold reality here, and it's he got injured in an inopportune time, and the timeline doesn't really help them out.
All right, so let me ask you this. Does tomorrow's happenings let you know what's going to happen with Joel Embiid for the rest of the season, do you think?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I
All
do
right, now
too.
let's stop there. If they sell, like you just said, though, in my mind, that says, oh, okay, they're shutting him down for the rest of the season, because if you were looking for him to come back and that's what you're planning on, well, you're not planning on for to come back just to have him play. You're planning on to come back to try to win a championship. So why would I sell, and have garbage but still expect him to come back?
Yeah. I understand that, but you got to be real with yourself. Like, this is...
I think that is real, though.
No, like...
I don't know. I'm just talking
but it goes back to what you said before. If they do that, they're fooling themselves. They're fooling themselves into thinking that Joel Embiid can come back, be the Joel Embiid of old, 2 months after not playing, 2 months post meniscus surgery. Like, the old regime would have had this guy on a minutes restriction. And I'm expecting him to come back and lead this team to what? To getting out of the second round? Like, because they're not winning a championship. They're just not. This isn't the year to do it. It's not happening. They had a chance, I guess. They were in the conversation when Joel Embiid was healthy, but he's not. And post-surgery? No, that ain't happening. So they can sit there and fool themselves all they want. They can buy a bit part here and there. But ultimately, we're going to be sitting back and going, you didn't see the forest of the trees. Like, what are we doing here?
I heard yesterday the piece that was, I guess it's one of our rejoins, one of our bumpers saying, Daryl Morey speaking is, I think we're one of the handful of true title contenders. And when I heard it yesterday, I said, I don't believe so now.
Not anymore.
Not now. I believed it when he said it. I believed it before the Embiid injury. I just am having a real hard time understanding what they think they are. We're going to find out. They're going to tell us what they think they are.
Yeah,
they're going to tell us.
And Pat, like, I'm just having a conversation with you. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Like you are.
But it's funny. No matter how we try, like, if I were to come up with a scenario, you could probably look at it and say, yeah, but, and be absolutely right. Also, like, what you laid out, I understand. But it also says to me that means he's not coming back at all. So,
it sucks. Like,
that's what it is.
As a fan, I don't enjoy this conversation, but nobody enjoys this conversation less than the people that are in the building, that are working for the Sixers, that have to sit there and realize, like, we got a punt on our team, but they need an intervention because you do.
But they also need to keep their jobs, and keeping their jobs means to win.
Daryl Morey just re-upped, so, like, he's fine. Nick Nurse just signed.
Daryl Morey's here through 29, I guess.
7 months ago.
How about medical people?
He's fine.
How about other people?
I mean, the only person that should get fired is whoever made the decision, and if it was Nick Nurse, then you don't fire him. But yeah, look, there was organizational malpractice keeping him in that game. I think we can all agree there.
I can't believe that it's not being talked about more.
But
because everybody loves Nick Nurse, and for good reason. He's very exciting. He's very interesting.
I'm convinced it was Joel Embiid's decision.
Then that's on Nick Nurse too.
Yeah, you got to save the player, and you did it the previous game in Denver. You saved the player from himself, and then you don't do it anyway. Look, I understand people need to keep their jobs, but the organization and Daryl Morey's, like, someone needs to be that friend to tell him, dude, that girl ain't for you. Like, she belongs to the streets. And in this situation, it's, dude, this team ain't for you. They're not going to win this year. Like, let's actually play this scenario out. You've got an often injured center returning after 2 months of not playing post-meniscus surgery. He's not leading you to anything other than maybe a second-round victory. Like, if that's the goal, then fine. By all means, buy. But, no, you need to recoup some draft assets.
So if we were to give you the hat, if John and I gave you the hat and it said GM on it, it sounds like you would just say, shut Embiid down for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see the end goal in sight, and the end goal is a championship. I don't see any situation where Embiid returning is going to win them a championship, and it sucks. Like, I'm a Sixers fan, but this
Well,
There's a long game here. You got to play the long game, and if they end up buying tomorrow, I don't think they're doing that.
Well, I'm going to tell you that there's one thing that I'm seeing coming to fruition, it looks like, that is really going to piss me off.
What's that?
If the New York Knicks are in the conference finals this year, if the New York Knicks somehow made the NBA finals, if the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the, semifinals, they're in the conference finals, then I'm going to just be totally pissed at this. How long have we begged for them to get it right? How long have we begged for them to put together a team that can succeed? And all these other teams that were in no man's land, they were in no man's land, and the Sixers managed to let them not only catch up to them but pass them. And it's all based on putting all their eggs in this one basket.
I don't know. I don't know if they would let them pass them though if it wasn't for this injury.
Yeah, but they had to. How many times? But as you say, how many times have we seen this injury? How many times have we seen this movie and read this book?
Yeah, I mean, you can't go into every year going like he's going to get injured, even though he has. Unfortunately, it does feel like you're just kind of waiting for it to happen. But in this situation, I brought up yesterday, like take Giannis off the Bucks. Are they winning? No. Take Tatum off.
But
Boston,
the Bucks
take
have
Jokic off of take the best player.
They have no reason to ever go into every season saying, well, there's a good chance we're losing Giannis. There's a good chance we're losing
then trade him.
These guys. And I wonder
when
they look back on it, whether they didn't do the right thing in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, like I'm not going in to every season going like, yeah, the injury's happening. And then when the injury happens, I go like, how did you not? Like I literally become Charlie Brown with the football, where I don't see it happening, and then it happens, and I go, how could I be so foolish?
Right.
I was young and naive and stupid. But if you're of the mindset of, look, this is really going to happen every year, then yeah, in the offseason, just deal them.
We don't consider
you ready to be depressed?
No.
Okay.
Because
that was depressing. We just talked about for 8
That
years.
really was
calling for the list before. And look, I don't blame Joel Embiid for injury. I don't. And it sucks what's going on, and it's reasoning more than excuses, all of that stuff. Had he been healthy like normal big men through the last years of basketball, I just wonder what we could have gotten. And you say, well, who are they? All right, you ready? Joel Embiid has played more than 67 games once in his career.
That's incredible.
Once. All right, here's how many times other big men through the years have played more than 67 games throughout their career. You just brought up Giannis 7 times. Shaq 10 times. Durant 9 times. Jokic already 8 times. Al Horford 12 times. Dwight Howard 13 times. Ilgauskas, who had a foot surgery and then went 7 more times to play more games than that. Nowitzki 16 times. Hakeem 11 times. Duncan 15 times. David Robinson, part of that, we're going to rest people 11 times. Kevin Garnett 14 times. Rudy Gobert, still in the league, 6 times. Karl Anthony Towns 5 times. Then you go to the all-times because that's who he's compared to, right?
Yes, all-time great.
When Joel brings up these numbers, and as great as he is, and I'm saying this with more of a, God, I wish you would just stay healthy. Moses Malone 16 times. Wilt Chamberlain 12 times. Dikembe 10 times. Yao Ming. All we think of is injury with Yao Ming, 4 times.
That's incredible.
Robert Parrish 20 times. Bill Russell 12 times. Kareem 18 times. I say it because it's such a shame. It's such a shame that this guy's body either breaks down, he gets weird injuries, all of that. Man, he'd be among the all-time greats. And we wouldn't be talking about getting out of the second round. It just sucks that this is probably going to be the overwhelming story of his career unless something drastically changes.
It's terrible because you know that you feel for him. Like we talked about it yesterday.
I feel for the fans.
I feel for fans too, but I really do feel for athletes that are taken apart by their own bodies. But there is part of this too. Joel Embiid didn't treat himself as a professional physically early in his career. He didn't do the things that some of those other guys that have enjoyed great success, great health, ability to just withstand the rigors of a thing. He wasn't LeBron. He wasn't those as far as guys.
But when Moses was cracking open his third beer at halftime, I think I'd compare Embiid's workout to his. I mean, it's just what they did. And it's weird. And my point being, he's in far better shape than probably 80% of the guys that I just read.
But was he 4 years ago? 5 years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, God, yeah.
I understand. But I mean, as far as, but he wasn't in, they would say game shape was what he wasn't in. Like, right? That was like he would get winded. He would get, he needed more time.
I'll put him up, his body and physicality up against a Moses Malone any day. But Moses Malone 16 times played more than 67
Then what did he
games a
do?
year.
Did he just play through it?
I
Did
don't
Moses
know.
just play, you know what I
wish to
mean?
God I had the answer. I don't know.
Hey,
I just don't know.
The 7 a.m. hour is brought to you by the all-new BetParks app. BetParks app's awesome. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. And with the big game coming up this weekend, you want in on the BetParks app. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's just say this. I'm talking about Howie Roseman shaking things up. And I have a name that I'm willing to see them move on from that might absolutely anger a lot of Eagles fans. We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update. 5thefanatic.com.
8 o'clock, Adam Schefter joins us. But before he does, we're going to give you a chance to win tickets to the Stadium Series. They sort of collide. You can go see the Flyers and the Devils next Saturday night in the outdoor game up in at the MetLife Stadium.
It's going to be nice.
Awesome.
Nice day, too. 35 degrees with a high, no rain, but at nighttime it's going to get down in the 20s, so it's perfect. Wow, that's an 8 o'clock game, right?
That sounds good. Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's going to be a wild scene. Should be a lot of fun. And then there's another game the next day, right, Pat? There's two?
There's a bunch of them. Yeah,
no, but I think they play two
I think the Rangers and Islanders are playing.
I think they play the next day. Yeah, there's two games there that come together. So we'll give you a chance to win those tickets. Thanks to the Flyers. We appreciate that and that Stadium Series. And then we'll hear from Adam Schefter. And also, too, coming up a little bit later on in the show, we will have Pat's Takes, which will hopefully entertain you. I can't wait to hear what a former Eagle had to say about Andy Reid and about a former player that was one of the most pivotal players in the franchise's history. You hear about that coming up a little bit later on. Part of this extreme makeover that I want the Eagles to do, I don't want them to say, well, we're stuck. Like I've heard this year with the Phillies offseason. Well, there's no spot for anybody. Can't move anybody. Well, then you're telling me that you have absolutely zero creativity and there's absolutely nothing. You don't think that there's anyone on the Phillies roster that somebody would be interested in trading or moving from, or everybody is so good you don't want to make a change. I don't want to see the Eagles do that. And I have a name for you that I would be absolutely fine with the Eagles moving on from. And it's not because I don't think the player is impressive. It's not because I think the player is not worth their time. It's just I don't want to get into that mold where you just say, well, we got this guy. We got this guy. Let's shake things up a bit. And the name is Dallas Goedert. I would be absolutely fine if the Eagles moved on from Dallas Goedert, got younger at the position, and decided they wanted to go a different direction with a tight end. One of the reasons being something we've talked about with Joel Embiid is that I always know Dallas is going to get banged up at some point. He's going to be unavailable sometime when you need him. And I'm ready for them to shake something up. And I would love to see them go younger, cheaper, save some cash. And if a Jason Kelce was going to come back, I absolutely would want to see that done because they've got to save some money because you're going to be putting a ton of money into Jason Kelce at, 36? I guess 36 will be next year. You'd be putting a ton of money into that position. I think you need to get cheaper somewhere, especially you're talking about Devontae Smith getting a new deal, something like that. So Dallas Goedert is a guy that I would say if the right deal came along, and you probably wouldn't get more. If I could get a third or fourth round pick, he's under control for the next 2 years, $10 million cap hit on average for the next 2 years, I wouldn't have a problem with the Eagles moving on from Dallas Goedert. Third or fourth round pick would be my number, though. If I can't get one of those, because then I think I could trade Dallas Goedert and get the third or fourth round pick that would then become one of my running backs of the future. Somebody that I'm going to put into that backfield. Or, I could find maybe his cheaper replacement. He's at the age when they moved on. They moved on earlier from a Zach Ertz and said he's getting towards that age. I would be okay with it.
You know his dead cap hit off the.
I know his
$22 million.
Well,
22. This. Let me see.
22, and then
So
post June 1st, it's 11.
Yeah.
Post June 1st, it's 11.
One of the things I don't like about your argument is that you say to you're Taylor Swift in it, shake it up or whatever the hell her song is.
I think
I'm
this
not doing
team
things
needs
just
to shake. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, his potential to be one of the top 5 tight ends in
I've heard
the
that.
league.
And he's
he doesn't just get it by not doing some things.
Do you think
look, if you bring in a rookie or whatever tight end, so now you're gonna have a tight end like trio of what, Cal Quintero, whatever his name is, and the other dude and a rookie? That's a big, I don't know. That doesn't bode well.
Here's what I'm asking you is the idea is that what you said is he has the potential to be a top 5 tight end in this league. Do you think he's
I don't
really. I mean, but do you think he's ever lived up to the?
Well, he's ranked as a top 5 tight end in this league, then that's by national media, that's by experts, that's all. So
when you watch him, do you feel that? I don't. I don't. I like him a lot. I mean, he's a nice player, but he's not somebody that I would say, wow, you can't even consider moving on from somebody like that. You're going to have to get cheaper on the offensive side of the ball at some point. You're going to have to make some moves because you got 2 years left of Dallas Goedert. You're going to have to. By the way, you have 2 years left of A.J. Brown, and you're most likely going to have to pay Devontae Smith this summer. And if you don't pay him this summer, then you absolutely have to pay him the next summer, or you pick up his 5th-year option, and he would be a miserable guy under that.
Your thinking isn't out of like totally out of line. I would more look at this if they were a really good team and say, you know what, you could probably do some things and maybe bring in another tight end and do that. I think if you want to get back to what you thought this organization was, that I'm not going to do that. Like I still want a really good pass-catching tight end because you bring in somebody else, you don't have 2 pass-catching tight ends behind them. The Zach Ertz thing, you had Dallas Goedert behind him. The Brent Selleck, the Brent Selleck thing, you had Zach Ertz behind him. Like you've always had that tight end in waiting. And I don't know. I still want to keep this offense going where you have 2 great wide receivers and a really good tight end. So I don't know if I'd be willing to pull that trigger, Pat.
I don't hate the idea of it, but everything Bob said, I think, is the reason why I want it. They've set themselves up in the past to have an heir apparent, and they haven't done that yet. Our buddy Zach Berman pointed out last year going into the draft, he posed the question, do they end up drafting a tight end early? Because a year ago, Dallas Goedert was older than Zach Ertz was when they drafted when they drafted Dallas Goedert. So I think, whatever Dallas Goedert is, Zach Ertz was a year earlier. So they'd already shown that they've set up the heir apparent before, and Dallas Goedert is kind of getting up there in age. I wouldn't be surprised if they did end up drafting it, if they keep those picks and they take a tight end in round 2. But I wouldn't be going into next season with a rookie tight end because historically speaking, rookie tight ends don't do much in their first year. And Sam Laporta is an outlier, but I'm talking about, you look at some of the all-time greats, the Travis Kelce's, the Rob Gronkowski's, they didn't make the impact that you might have thought they did their
right
first
off the
year.
bat.
Yeah,
exactly.
because they're adjusting to NFL blocking schemes, and the pass stuff kind of goes out the window. So I wouldn't necessarily trade them because I feel like it'd kind of be trading them for the sake of trading them, especially for like a 3rd or 4th round pick. 3rd round picks what Darren Waller went for. I think Darren Waller's can make the case going into last offseason, Darren Waller was better than Zach Ertz Dallas Goedert is this year. But the often injured thing, is troubling to me. I think they absolutely need to set up for an heir apparent, but I wouldn't trade him.
Can I ask you?
I'd have to be blown away by an offer, and an offer to me being blown away is a 2nd round pick.
See, now I said 3rd or 4th, I'd be fine with. Let me ask you this one here. Do you know what the Eagles' dead cap hit was last year?
For what?
Their dead cap hit. Yeah.
No idea.
$54 million. $54 million.
Okay.
Last year. They the team that led the NFL in dead cap money, Tampa, $75 million. They skunked the Eagles in the postseason. And then had the ball in their hands with a chance to beat the Lions on their home field. $74 million, $1 million less. The Rams, who also made the playoffs. $57 million more than the Eagles. $3 million more than the Eagles. The Packers. I mean, is that I hear about people like, well, you can't move on. There's a dead cap hit. Well, the dead cap hit doesn't seems like people are learning to maneuver the dead cap really well. The top 4 teams in dead cap money all made the playoffs last year in the NFC.
Well, it's like
they were 4 of the 7 playoff teams in the NFC.
It's like a check engine light going on. Like, it's not going to crush you, but you definitely don't want it.
Well, I guess you don't want it.
So, I mean, if you can avoid it, why wouldn't you avoid it? I mean, for me, a 3rd or 4th round pick, that 4th round pick isn't really going to contribute much as rookie year. I mean, realistically speaking, you're looking at the first 2 rounds as like those guys need to be impact guys. 3rd round, I'm looking for a starter.
Right.
And then 4th round on, you're just hoping to God. I mean, you're throwing darts at a board.
I'm feeling better about a 3rd-round pick, Pat, starting immediately on the defensive side of the ball than offense.
Yeah, they need to revamp the entire defense.
Carl joins us. Carl, welcome to the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Good morning. I think Dallas Goedert would absolutely be a top 3 tight end if you had a quarterback that it was schemed to get him the ball and he was able to get on the ball. I think Jalen Hurts gets happy with his wide receivers, and I'm not judging him because you got 2 great ones. But I think you have Dallas Goedert, and I think he's an unused weapon when he's not banged up, like John said.
Okay,
I don't know
Carl,
that I would hate moving on from him.
let me ask you this one: is like when you say that do you believe that Goddard should be an option above Devontae Smith or above not A.J. Brown? Obviously, you wouldn't, but do you believe he should be an option above Devontae Smith?
I think on certain plays, I think you scheme to get the tight end open because you have great wide receivers that should open the middle of the field.
I think and Carl, I can tell you this where I agree with you. Bob, I think that the Eagles look at Dallas Goedert as a safety valve. He's the safety valve on plays. He is not featured as Carl just points out there.
Yeah, and I don't think that's right either. We've seen what he can do, yards after the catch. You know, we that's what we liked so much about him. It was different than Ertz. Ertz would catch as many catches as he had, but he wasn't a yak guy. Goddard is that guy. We've seen explosive plays from him. Yeah, the injuries and the lack of using him are definitely the knocks against him. But, yeah, just my personal, like you bringing it up, I don't know. I don't want to move on from him just yet.
Mark joins us. Mark, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, guys. How you guys doing this morning?
Great to have you on.
Thank you. As far as the whole Dallas Goedert situation, we also got to take into account to Kellen Moore and his offensive scheme. In Los Angeles, his tight end was very prominent, and also in Dallas. I mean, they had 2 good tight ends, and they were very prominent in their offense. So I think keeping someone like a short-handed Dallas Goedert, I think that's a great move for us to be able to move on forward.
Now, here's where we may disagree on this topic. You consider him short-handed?
Yeah, I do. I mean, when the ball gets to him, like you guys talked about, he can catch the ball and also get yards after catch. So it's just obviously ultimately up to Jalen Hurts to see if he could just get him the ball there.
Yeah, I got you. I've never really looked at it as, man, the ball's going to Dallas Goedert. There's not a chance that he's dropping it. There's not a chance. He's making that catch. He's pulling it down. And he had 2 big catches in the Super Bowl that were amazing last year. But I looked at a guy like Zach Ertz and said, okay, sure-handed tight end, I think Zach Ertz. I don't think Dallas Goedert.
I think Goddard is a playmaking tight end.
That's different, right?
I mean,
and yards after the catch, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was one of my pet peeves. I don't know why they didn't utilize him more. I know you have 2 outstanding receivers, but probably the word that we used most games when we were talking this year about the Eagles' offense was diversity. Let's get some diversity. Mix in the run and the pass. Well, diversity with the passing game was not just A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but get Dallas Goedert more involved. And when he was involved, it seemed like games where they said, all right, we're going to involve him. We're going to give him 8 targets. He's 6-7 catches for close to 100 yards. I like that. I'm anxious to see what Kellen Moore does with this offense because, God, he certainly has tools.
You should feel better about Dallas Goedert knowing what Kellen Moore does, should feel very excited about the move. He should be very excited about who they brought in as the offense coordinator because he does like using the tight ends. He's developed quite a few too, though. So I mean, that's the idea do you start fresh? Do you think about it? Just some of the interest. He may come in here and say one of the reasons he wanted this job was he sees Dallas Goedert and thinks Dallas Goedert can take it to an entirely different level coming up, which would be great. That would be great for everybody. We'll ask Adam Schefter coming up at the top of the hour a little bit about what's going on around this Eagles club and also it's Super Bowl week, stories around the NFL. The Athletic came out with their top 100 baseball prospects, and the Phillies ended up with 3 of the top 89. 3 of the top 89. That's not bad. You're talking about a 30-team Major League Baseball. So when you're saying everybody on there, if it was even everybody would have around 3 prospects in the top 100. So not bad. They ended up with 3 in the top 89, but none in the top 33. None in the top third of the top 100 prospects, but Andrew Painter, coming off major surgery, obviously comes in at 34. Justin Crawford, outfielder, comes in at 43. And then Aiden Miller, a number 1 pick a year ago, comes in at number 89. So he has raised a few eyebrows. So when you look at 3 of the top 89, I guess you're saying, okay, there's maybe some progress coming. But when you look at none in the top 33, I wonder, are they still cleaning up for a previous administration that maybe didn't stock the cupboards enough?
Baseball and this subject are just always so weird to me. Like, Pat is great at it. Pat knows prospects going down top 11.
Oh, he does.
Phillies prospects alone and where they are and what they may do and projection of them all. Prospects in baseball are just like, it's so hit and miss, right? It's just so, it's not like basketball, football, where you know your first and second rounders probably are going to pan out in some way. Baseball's just not like that. Now, 3 in the top 89, to me, that bleeds mediocrity. Like you said, you got 30 teams. Each team gets 3. There's your 90.
Yeah,
it's mediocre. Just mediocrity. Now, in Aiden Miller, you have a kid, right, Pat? He didn't play high school ball.
No, he played high school ball. He was older.
But he got wiped out because of COVID, so didn't play a full year there.
He's 19. He's not 18. He's 19. But when he was 14 and 15, he was crushing the ball against 18-year-olds.
Right.
So, I mean, some people looked at it like, well, he's an older kid beating up on younger kids. But when he was that younger kid, he was still beating up on them. He's very talented. I
like that he's a Florida kid.
Yeah. I mean, he grew up like 2 blocks away from the Clearwater complex.
Yeah.
Nothing against the Athletic and I think
their staff of baseball writers.
Keith Law does a great job. I tend to skew more towards MLB.com.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt that MLB.com's rankings are more favorable to the Phillies, but they had
how much better?
They had Andrew Painter as 27.
Okay, so there's a difference in 6 spots.
They had Mick Abel at 49. They had Aiden Miller at 61. And this is what's wild to me about the Athletics thing. They don't have Justin Crawford listed at all. And that is bananas to me. Justin Crawford was the 77th ranked prospect in MLB.com's, but that kid hit 345 a year after getting drafted and got promoted to high A ball and stole almost 50 bases, and his on-base percentage is incredible. His Gold Glove defense, I don't understand why he wasn't a top 100 prospect.
But you value their ranking more? How did they miss Justin Crawford?
I value MLB.com's ranking because it's MLB.com.
Yeah,
That's all they do. I mean, the Athletic, and it's not like Keith Law isn't going to, watch minor league games. I know he lives in Florida and stuff, but I value Jonathan Mayo and that group a little bit more than Keith Law. But ultimately, and I did this. This is like my version of Bob going to like a high school basketball game. The other day, I was looking at MLB.com's top 100 prospects from 2004 or 5.
You're so weird.
Yeah, I know.
You are weird.
I know. I'm not proud of this moment, but follow me, camera guy. So I'm following it, and I started counting how many of them actually panned out to name recognition MLB players.
And you call me nerd boy.
Look, man, all right, I had some free time. There was like 55, 60 misses. So I can sit here and I can on a random February and say, no, they got it wrong. They got it wrong here and there, and this guy's better than blah, blah, blah. The reality is, baseball is so weird that until these guys end up getting there, we don't know. There could be a can't-miss guy, and you'll sit there and go, no, Michael Taylor is the future. He's got 5 tools, and you can't include him in any Roy Halladay trade, and then you never hear from him again. And Kyle Drabeck is a future Cy Young winner, and you never hear from him again.
Are you one of those fans who believes that, though, if a prospect got into a different organization, or are you one of those people that believes that talent is just talent? They could be with any organization, or some organization just is going to bleed more talent out of it.
The only time I've ever bought into you need a change of scenery is Mark Appel. Because Mark Appel, when he got to Houston, he was put in a 6-man rotation in the minors, not his typical 5-man rotation. And I think it kind of screwed him up. He started having troubles, and then he had anger issues, and it's well documented. He wrote actually a really good piece for The Athletic. about all of the mental aspects of all that crap. And then he got traded to the Phillies, and I thought, okay, change of scenery might be good here. 99% of the time, I'm like, look, if you're flaming out and low A ball for an organization, you're not going to thrive with another one. And usually that does end up happening. I mean, talent is talent, and the idea of they'll just switch organizations, I usually don't buy into that. But I'm also, and I'll throw my hand up, I'm also somebody that has fallen in love with just about every single prospect I've ever seen.
Yeah, you do like prospects.
I've fallen into that trap. I've gotten a little bit better at it, but yeah, I've fallen into that
Ruben
trap.
Amaro was freaking you out, right? When he was the GM, he was freaking you out or not?
Like, at the time, I was cool with trading Kyle Drayback. I was a huge Antonio Bastardo fan.
Okay.
Not Drayback. Antonio Bastardo's numbers in the minors were way better than Drayback when they were both starters. So I didn't care about trading Drayback. I was upset when they traded Michael Taylor, but when they traded him for Roy Halladay, so I didn't really care at that time. I didn't want to trade Lou Marson, but I had no problem with the Cliff Lee trade. I definitely didn't want to trade Jonathan Singleton, but when you trade him for Hunter Pence, I understood it. Like, a lot of the trades, it was like, yeah, there was that one guy I didn't want to trade, but I understood why they were doing it, because they were doing it for premier talent. They weren't doing a Zach Wheeler for a rental and Carlos Beltran trade, which is what the Giants did with the Mets.
We have, I want you to hear from a former Eagle commenting on the job that Andy Reid did when he was the coach here and what he might have fixed when he got to Kansas City. But his indictment on a former Eagle legend might be the bigger story overall. We'll get to that. Plus, remember, Stadium Series tickets coming up before the top of the hour. Your chance to win them. And then Adam Schefter joins us. Buckle in. We got you here, 97.5, The Fanatic. I love the
Fanatic Sports Update.
I love Pat Egan.
Shut your mic off, John Kincade.
I love Pat Egan.
I'm Pat Egan, and this Sports Update is brought to you by Discover.
and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Looking forward to having Adam Schefter join us top of the hour and your chance to win some tickets, too. A lot of discussion today about the Joel Embiid injury and the surgery and where he's at. We've gotten into that and more. But I wanted you to hear from Asante Samuel. I don't know how people think of people think of Asante Samuel. I think of Asante Samuel as an extremely accomplished NFL player who has definite strong opinions, and some of them sort of would go counter to a lot of what we believe as fans here in town. He was commenting about what went on in Philadelphia when he was here with Donovan McNabb as his quarterback, and he said that after coming from New England, he couldn't believe under Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb what he saw.
3rd down and 8, 2 minutes to go, 0 timeouts. Here's the play, right? He run the play with nobody out there, no defense or no one. And the guy just say he runs a dig, 10 yards and in. Donovan McNabb throws the ball into the dirt and doesn't complete the pass. And to me, as a professional coming from New England, these plays are 100% need to be executed at all times because we are professional. We do this every day.
Every day. So no defense. Donovan McNabb in passing drills is throwing the ball into the ground. And Asante Samuel said that Andy Reid had some advice for him on how that should be handled.
So these things would go on a lot in practice, and no one would say anything. And so now I'm just sick of the dirt passes. It is driving me crazy. So I tootle right along, go upstairs. Hey, Coach Reid, I got to talk with you, man. I just got a problem out there at practice, Coach, when, the offense, you always look at yourself first, blame yourself, the defense not executing. But the offense, what about when you're out there calling plays and the quarterback can't complete the ball with no one out there? He's throwing the ball in the dirt. And Coach Reid looked at me in my eyes and said, Sante, it's your job. It's your job to discipline and reprimand any of the players on the team. That's y'all job. The leaders take care of that. I was so confused. I was looking at Andy like, so you're not going to say nothing?
Andy Reid delegating the leadership. Bobby, where do you, as far as that surprises me because I would think the discipline, the leadership, the what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, it's got to come from the boss first. And then you can internally police yourselves among the leaders of the team, right?
John, let's consider the source here.
Okay.
It's Asante Samuel. Hey, nobody's heard from me in a while. Let me just talk, okay? Hey, camera's over here. Here I am. I got something to say. He said that to Asante Samuel. Maybe Andy Reid was saying, dude, get the hell out of my office. I've gone over this with Donovan 1,000 times before you got here and 1,000 times after you left. We've run this play. You've been here for a heartbeat, and you're going to come into my office and tell me, hey, Coach, you got to work on this better? Okay, Sandy, yeah, you go take care of it. Get the hell out of here. I'm not going to read into what. Now Asante Samuel, 14, 15, 20 years later, is coming out and saying that Andy Reid didn't handle how to throw a dig route with no defense with Donovan McNabb, and I'm going to read something into it? No, I don't think so.
I want you to hear the fourth cut, Pat. The fourth one where Asante Samuel says what he thinks the difference is between Andy Reid in Philly and Andy Reid in Kansas City.
Andy Reid would have won more Super Bowls if we were able to apply more discipline to Donovan McNabb. If we were able to hold him accountable more and not treat him like a baby.
Any thoughts? I got to tell you this. When he talked about the dirt ball, I always hated. I don't know how many times I would wait for the first pass of the game, and I was a McNabb fan, and I would wait for the first pass of the game to be thrown at somebody's feet.
Oh my God, we all talked about worm burners with Donovan McNabb. I mean, that's nothing new at all.
But it never changed and it never improved. It never improved.
We saw it a lot. I don't know if we can say it never improved when, you had Brian Westbrook and tight ends and all getting as many yards as they did, throwing the football short. So I can't say, we never saw improvement. I'd have to go back and look at his whole career. But the discipline thing with Donovan McNabb.
And Andy Reid. He's almost pointing a finger almost more at Andy Reid.
Okay, why is this coming out 15, 14, 13 years later?
Because
I don't. Why? Why is Asante Samuel saying this? And I understand talking about Andy Reid. That's great. And bringing up, okay, they might have won more Super Bowls had he been more disciplined with Donovan. Okay, Andy Reid, this is like the 5th Super Bowl he's been in or something since he's been in Philadelphia. And Asante Samuel's raising his hand now to say, oh, yeah, I got a point for you.
Does it make you, though, in the other years, and until 4 or 5 years ago, we weren't talking about everybody in the world having a microphone and a podcast. I mean, it's now, and really it's the last 2 years where it's exploded. It doesn't make me discount, Pat, what Asante Samuel has to say just because he didn't say it before, because maybe there was a reason he didn't say it before.
Yeah, I often think of my feelings when the Joe Santoliquino piece came out with Carson Wentz. And you had some people, and some even media members, just outraged at the accusations being made that Carson Wentz might be unliked. And I was like, you probably have 100 people in the NovaCare complex. Not everyone's going to like you. It's going to happen.
Right.
And his gripe regarding Andy and regarding the worm burners and all that, understandable. Like, we had the same gripes as fans. And that's one thing that I constantly hear from fans that will get on Donovan McNabb is, well, he always threw the ball in the dirt. Now, I go the opposite way. I was like, well, I'd rather have the ball in the dirt than the ball in the cornerback's
up in the air,
hands.
tipped and everything like that, yeah.
Yeah, like I would have loved to see that fixed. And I'm sure if you come from New England, where we all know at this point that Bill Belichick was very, very hard on Tom Brady, harder than anybody, and then you get to Philly where you might look at it like Andy Reid is kind of letting Donovan do whatever he wanted in the moment. And that might have not necessarily been the case, but it's kind of like when you go from a hot tub into, a pool, and it's like it's even colder. So it's just then your perception of it is flipped. And Asante Samuel saying what he's saying, it's like, yeah, I understand it. I was frustrated too about it. I don't really look at it like anything other than that, though.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
former employer that was frustrated in the moment, but I don't think it's any real bad blood.
No,
I'm sure
here's the weird thing to me.
Some stuff.
If I want knowledge and I want to dip into the, all of the stories that an Asante Samuel may have, I want to relate it to Andy Reid and here and now. How is Andy, different now than maybe when you were with the Eagles and this and that? But Asante Samuel comes off to me like that guy you played with in high school that just can't let it go. Oh, remember this game? Or you did this against that. Like, all right, man, it was 13 years ago, 14 years ago. Like, I'd rather he's talking about Donovan McNabb throwing Warburg. When the hell was the last time Donovan McNabb even played? Like, that doesn't interest me even a little bit. Like, I would go to Asante Samuel, or if I am Asante Samuel, I would give Andy Reid knowledge that I accumulated and say, you know what, this is why he and Patrick Mahomes team so well together, because of this and that, and you didn't see that there, and I think he might have learned that from this, but. I
think it sounds like a headline grabber to you.
It sounds like a guy that's still stuck in his playing days. Like, dude, you haven't played in 13 years.
It's like that song by that Springsteen guy. It's like that song, that Glory Days song.
The River?
Yeah.
Or The River. No, not The River. Didn't dig that one. Hey, we have Adam Schefter joining us at the top of the hour, the NFL's premier insider, thanks to our friends at Landis Block and Concrete, who will help you create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. But first, I want you to have a chance to go to the Stadium Series game.
But the shot, he scores! 97.5 The Fanatic.
There you go, your chance right now. And Brendan has got the lines bugged out, so he will wait for our YouTube audience and our streaming audience to catch up. You will win tickets to see the Flyers battle the Devils next Saturday, the 17th at MetLife Stadium, as part of the 2024 Navy Federal Credit Union NHL Stadium Series. If you're the ninth caller, when we open the contest lines at 215-263-0975, you will be heading to the game. You can visit 975thefanatic.com and get complete details. You're going to have other chances to win, though. Noon with Andrew Salchunas in middays, and 4 p.m. today with the best show ever. And we'll give you another shot tomorrow morning on Thursday morning to win the tickets, too. It'll be 215-263-0975. And our man Brendan Gunn will open up the lines, and we'll find out who the ninth caller is. And you'll be going to the Stadium Series game. Thanks to the Flyers. Great job. We will hopefully be able to entertain you with a trip to the Stadium Series. That would be a lot of fun. I honestly, if it was a day game, I would have made the trip.
Yeah. I told you before, I love outdoor ice hockey. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. I want to be at one. Haven't been yet. If you get the chance to go up there, it's going to be a beautiful day. Maybe you spend the night in New York or right outside of it. It could be an awesome, awesome day.
It should be really a fun event, and the Stadium Series is always good. I'm always glad to see the weather cooperating, though.
Yeah.
Because if it was this weekend, they'd have problems. It's going to be like a potential record high in Philly on Saturday. So it'll be one that we're watching. If it had been this weekend, it could have been a disaster. So it's good to see that they will be able to get that thing off, and it looks like it'll be a huge event.
They were showing the putting together of the ice last night on the Flyers game up at MetLife Stadium, and it's pretty wild to watch those things and all the plans and how you do it. And somebody on the broadcast was like, NHL has it down to a T. And I'm looking at a guy looking at kind of a layout of what he's supposed to be doing. I'm like, wow, really?
There's a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
Colin Mac Allen is our winner. Colin Mac Allen.
That's a 3 first name.
That means he could be a serial killer, but he is a winner. Because the serial killers always have multiple names. You ever watch the Datelines, the 2020s, the 48 Hours? Whoever the killer is always has 3 names.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Okay, explain it to me.
Because
is it a journalistic thing?
Yeah. If something happens and I say, John Kincade from Philadelphia, well, there might be multiple John Kincades from Philadelphia. So you want to give that middle name to exactly put out who this person is. Nobody called Lee Harvey Oswald Lee Harvey. His name was just Lee Oswald. But, you always put it out there for a journalistic,
Very good, Bob. What a lesson in that. I have not, by the way, I haven't heard anybody called Lee Harvey since Stripes, which was Lee Harvey was one. Hey, Lee Harvey, you madman. Don't you remember that line?
Lee Harvey?
Yeah, you'll remember it. You'll find it. Yeah, he was the crazy guy. The country dude. Hey, Landis Block and Concrete brings you Adam Schefter every single week. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. He woke up early to be with us. It is greatly appreciated. Adam Schefter. Adam, how are you?
I did get up early here. It's 5 in the morning here right now.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you can go back to sleep, Shefty.
You did. Now, Shefty, I would get up. I'd rinse off, and I'd go down and play blackjack. You do not. So that is your error, not mine.
Yeah, maybe. But, again, I might be one of the only people who'll be here in Vegas for 9 days and not gamble $1.
Oh, man, it is a change. Tell us about Vegas as a Super Bowl venue. I was listening to some comments yesterday that Joe Buck had. And Joe Buck said he didn't want any part of going to Vegas. He thought that it was a bad place to have a Super Bowl. What do you think about it? How are they doing?
I don't know how you answer how they're doing. I think it's a situation where, to me, like you might like this. This is not my kind of thing. I'm not a gambler. I'm not somebody that loves that. I don't love the chaos and craziness. I like it a little bit more spread out. Last year when the Eagles were there, I remember specifically we were in Arizona and we were staying out by Camelback Mountain at some place, and it was fun. But it was out of the way. It was remote. It was quiet. That's what I prefer at this point in my life. Now, there was a time when I remember being in New Orleans for the Super Bowl when I was younger, and that was unbelievable. And I was telling the story yesterday. The very first Super Bowl that I ever covered was in 1995, the Chargers against the 49ers when Mike Shanahan was the 49ers offensive coordinator, and I was covering the Broncos at the time. My job was to stalk Mike Shanahan until we found out whether or not he was taking the Broncos head coaching job, which I think back to now. I'm like, of course it was done in advance. Of course I didn't realize that, now I didn't realize that as a young reporter, but of course that would have been done. I'm waiting for an answer from him, and I'm following him. But I remember the night before that Super Bowl, which is the very first Super Bowl that I ever went to, went out with my friends in Miami. We went out all night. By the time I got back, and and back in the day, the newspaper would be delivered to your hotel room door, which I loved. Rolled into the hotel 7 a.m. The Miami Herald is sitting at my, hotel room door, and it was the last time that I ever allowed that the newspaper would get to the hotel room before I did, covering a Super Bowl. So, to me, that's how it used to be when I was, 29, 30. Now, I'm 57. Vegas, not my choice. New Orleans, not my choice, right? 20 years younger would have been great.
Sure, absolutely.
I'll tell you, Shefty, I covered many Las Vegas Summer League basketball where I'd be there for 2-3 weeks. I never spent a penny gambling. You and I are more alike than you think. But let me bring this up to you, Shefty, and I know you're in a different spot because of what you all just described, how you're covering it and all that. The talk around here, at least a little bit, is the hate of the game. Oh, I don't like the Niners. I don't like the Chiefs. I'm not looking forward to this game. A lot of it has to do with how the Eagles finish the season. But just looking at this game, looking how these two teams match up, do you think it's going to be a good Super Bowl game?
You never know with these things. I mean, sometimes you get a great game, and sometimes you don't. And the last few games that have been on CBS, for whatever it's worth, have been blowouts. And it's hard for me to imagine that either of these teams will be blown out. Like, can you imagine Patrick Mahomes getting blown out? I was with, I'll come back to this again. I was with my daughter on Christmas Day in Kansas City at the Nickmas game that they were broadcasting on Nickelodeon where she was doing the sidelines. And the Raiders came into the Chiefs Stadium and blew them out. And that was a turning point in their season in my mind because we're watching them that day, and my daughter's like, didn't you say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football? Yeah, he is. This is him? Like, yeah. They did not play well. It was not exactly what you would have thought. And since then, they've turned around. I can't imagine that the Chiefs would play like that. And I can't imagine, that the 49ers in a spot like this wouldn't step up and play, particularly when I don't think the Niners have played well this postseason at all. And their defense just got chewed out for its lack of effort against the Lions, like on this stage and against this team that beat them once. They're not going to play a good game. Wow, okay, that would surprise me. To me, I think we're going to get a good game. Doesn't mean we will, but I would guess we would.
It's so funny to me, the idea of how that Christmas game, I brought it up just the other day. It was such a low point for the defending Super Bowl champions, and you said that was a launching off point. That was a turning around point, like a wake-up call, and they turned it all around from there. And we watched the Eagles just crash and burn and never be able to pull themselves out of the nosedive. Is that Andy Reid? Is that the veteran coach? Is that something about Kansas City that maybe was missing with the Philadelphia Eagles, their roster, their coaching staff, and otherwise?
Well, again, the Chiefs were able to bounce back from a game like that, and the Eagles were not. And I don't know that it's just as simple as Andy Reid. I don't know that. I think it's, it's a little bit of everything. Like that team responded. The Chiefs did. The Eagles didn't. Does that mean the coaches were smarter or worked harder? I don't know. Did the players play better? Yeah. It was a gut check time for that Chiefs team, and they responded. The Eagles had gut check times this season and didn't respond. So, I couldn't explain it more than that. I don't know why one team did, one team didn't, but that's what happened. And that day was a dismal day in Kansas City. Like it was actually the weather there was like it's been in Vegas all week, cold, wet, rainy. I remember getting back to my hotel and being like, wow, to thaw out after that, it took a long time. And but that Chiefs team responded. They just bounced back after that game, which was, to me, the low point of their season.
Shefty, a little off base here. I when the Eagles got rid of their coordinators, I was begging for them to go after Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator.
Uh-huh.
He's been let go by Washington. We've seen the success that he's had and all that. What is your feeling of him? I don't want to say not holding jobs, but not getting a head coaching job, getting let go again now as an offensive coordinator, and where might he end up, do you think?
Well, he's been in play for a couple of jobs quietly. He did interview for the Commanders' head coaching job. Wasn't going to get the job. We understand that. I still think, I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I would guess that we'll get Eric Bieniemy news here in the next week. And my guess is that, he will have a home. And I know that the Chiefs have, played down the Andy Reid speculation about whether he could or couldn't walk. And they said yesterday, they're not thinking like that. And that's fine. But if the Chiefs win this game, then, that's going to be something that Andy's going to have to make a decision on, whether he wants to come back again after another Super Bowl title. And to me, he's a Supreme Court judge. He's tenured and he gets to stay as long as he wants. But he cannot deny that this issue has come up in recent seasons. And he cannot deny that the issue has been debated. And he's come back every time so far. But one of these years, whether it's this year or 5 years from now or whenever he wants, he's going to make a decision to walk. And if he walked now, Eric Bieniemy would be a logical name in Kansas City. So we'll see on Eric. We'll see how that plays out. But I think he'll get work. It just hasn't happened yet.
I obviously got to see a lot of Dan Quinn in person for years down in Atlanta, and now he's the Washington coach. Are you surprised that he was the choice that got that job? Because I don't feel, as an Eagles fan, I don't feel extremely threatened.
Yeah, Dan Quinn, to me, is an upbeat, positive, high-energy guy. Again, I would say this for many of the teams that hire coaches. Would you be more concerned facing Dan Quinn or Bill Belichick? Would you be more concerned facing Dave Canales or Bill Belichick? Would you be more concerned? You could ask that question for many of the hires. And I think the answer would be the other way. I'd be more concerned if the team was coached by Bill. I would be. But Washington made the decision. And like I said, Dan is a great man. He's beloved and respected. They felt very good about the hire. The coaching cycle, I don't think, developed and evolved the way that they would have thought, clearly, because it was a situation where, it took a long time. They started on the GM. They got the GM they wanted right out of the gate. But then as it developed, I think they would have been more interested in Mike McDonald. He took the Seattle job. And then, in the end, Ben Johnson stays in Detroit and Bobby Slowick stays in Houston. And so some of the guys that would have been options weren't. And so it limited the field a little bit. And again, I think if you wind up on Dan Quinn, I think they're happy with that. But it was a choice that was made from a reduced field.
Do you believe that Howie Roseman and the Eagles organization made overtures, had conversations, and were interested in potentially landing Bill Belichick's services?
I don't believe they made any overtures to him about that. No,
I didn't buy it either. And there were reports there were reports last week out of Boston that the Eagles were the team that was lurking, and I had someone else.
They may have been lurking. They may have been lurking. Like, who knows? But it's like
no overtures.
Well, every team is okay. Look, do I think that at some point when Jeffrey Lurie is spearheading those conversations, okay, what are we going to do here? Like, everybody knows that they had to discuss and debate the future of that organization. So how would that question not come up? Bill Belichick's out there. Is this something we want to do, or do we want to stick with our guy?
Yeah, I'm more interested is did they reach out to Belichick? Did they talk to him about it? Not the internal conversations. Did they consider him and get him involved in it?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Shefty, I don't know what your schedule is, but if I could make a suggestion, having spent an awful lot of time in Las Vegas, Piero's. That's where you need to eat. Piero's.
Pieros?
Yes, it was. It's a great old-time Italian restaurant. It was featured in the movie Casino with Robert De Niro. There was many scenes done in there. Unbelievable. If you get a chance, try to put it on your list.
Really? That good, huh?
Oh, my God. I ate there almost every night I was in Vegas because it was right next to my hotel, yeah.
There's a lot of good old Italian there.
What hotel is it next to?
It's next to a Marriott. It's by the convention center. But like I would go in there, you'd see Phil Jackson and company come in. You'd see Larry Bird and company come in. It was the place everybody went to go. And I was lucky. I was by myself or another writer and just sat at the bar. But check it out, Piero's.
So you don't have a contact there or anything like that, right? Like
you're Adam Schefter. You think Bob Cooney has a contact that you don't? Come on, Shefty.
Shaq's got a place right underneath the Eiffel Tower. Right under the Eiffel Tower, you could go to Alexa. He's got a majority shareholder share in a nice little restaurant there. Overlook the Strip. Have a little Cinnabon waffle for breakfast.
There's really no shortage of restaurants.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Exactly. That is awesome.
Right.
All right, I got asked a question by a listener yesterday, and I want to close with this. Eagles closer to a retooling for a run, making a run, which would mean winning the division next year and winning a playoff game, or a rebuild?
Well,
gut instinct.
I think they're going to make a run.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. It seems like that's where most people were leaning yesterday. We appreciate you getting up early with us. Get some more sleep. Get some more sleep. You don't want bags under your eyes.
Well, that's they're going to be bags. That's not an issue, right?
Thanks, Adam.
Shefty.
We appreciate it. Adam Schefter joined us.
You got it.
Thank you, buddy. On the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. And Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. That is bad. The time change. Now, I am always awake early in Vegas. I cannot. Maybe it's the excitement of being in Vegas. I love it so much, but I also can't sleep.
Yeah,
in Vegas, my body clock never really adjusts that much.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to stay up late to make it adjust, but yeah, it's different. But after a day or two, you get used to it.
There could be something that changes your viewing of sports completely, forever. And you know Pat, he loves those streaming services. We'll talk about it next. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. If you haven't noticed...
Sports updates.
Man.
and 975thefanatic.com.
All right, Tony, who is a woman, asked me, why do you keep
What's up, woman,
why do you
Tony?
keep jumping on Pat when he's trying to do his sports update? We just changed things a little bit, changed around timing and everything, and I am absolutely, that's like 5 flubs.
Well, it's like when you see video of quarterbacks in training camp and you've got, guys running at him and throwing tennis balls and whatnot to try to, get them off their game in the pocket. It's very similar to that, Tony.
I'm trying to do it to you?
Yeah, you're trying to make me better at my job, and I appreciate it, but I am unflappable.
He is unflappable. It's my error, Tony. It's not his. Because it was like, which one of you is an error? It's me. And Tony,
give me about 5 minutes, and I'll have an error myself. Trust me.
Toni, by the way. That's a cute
we
name.
have one of those.
I like that name.
Yeah, we have Tony Perone.
Yeah, we have Tony Perone here, too.
Yeah, the legend
I
Tony
like that
Perone.
name. Yeah, she's the boss around here.
Yeah, she runs.
Let's be honest.
She runs it.
Let's be honest. I always get a little perturbed when people of my generation start bitching and complaining because, more things are going streaming. More things are going. Boy, these streaming services, how many of them are there going to be? Oh, my gosh. I love streaming services. I love the mobility of them. I love being able to sit out on my back deck and watch a TV show on my iPad, which I got my iPad out. I love the flexibility of having a streaming service. I enjoy it. I love being able. I am not a binge watcher. We do not binge watch, but we will watch maybe 2 episodes of something one night and then 2 the next night, something like that. We don't sit and watch for 6 hours at a time. Love streaming services. And then yesterday I heard, as the rumblings came out, that there is a brand new streaming service that is on the horizon coming our way next year that is going to change the way people watch sports. And it's a conglomerate, Pat. It's ESPN, it's Fox, I don't think CBS is involved.
No, it's ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers / Discovery, and it's going to include. It looks like games from every league. So it's going to include offerings from 15 different networks that are owned by these 3, which is ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers. So you're going to have ESPN, ESPN Plus, ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC network, the ACC network, ESPN News, ABC, Fox, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, Big Ten Network, TNT, TBS, and True TV.
Count me in.
Yeah, so that kind of covers just about everything, right? I mean, you've got
that's it.
You've got ESPN for Monday Night Football. You got the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten Network. You've got TNT for basketball and TNT, TBS, and True TV for the NCAA tournament. Now, the Super Bowl, depending on what network has it and when, that might be affected, but for the most part, like this covers everything. This is, I feel like, a streaming service that we actually can all get behind. And at this point, we kind of all roll our eyes when we hear new streaming service because it's like, all right, here we go again. I have enough.
Here's another one, right?
I don't need it. But for sports viewing, this is kind of perfect.
You mean one-stop shop that I don't have to hunt around when I'm looking for the Temple game, or I'm looking for it's such a great. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah,
I love it.
You'll be able to bundle this with the Disney Plus, Hulu, and HBO Max deal, but you've got 3 powerhouses joining together, and I think it's going to end up being better for sports fans. Now, there are some things that'll be missing, of course, because that's just the way it always goes. And the NHL Network, I don't see that. That's disappointing for me.
And who knows if that gets added?
Yeah, it might get added.
Might get
right?
folded in.
Yeah, because NHL has the deal with ESPN. So, but it looks like it's pretty much going to cover all bases there. And you add maybe like a cheap YouTube TV plan to cover over the Phillies games, the local games, and then the national programs. You can have this, and you're kind of set sports wise. And for those that don't have ESPN Plus, because I understand it, it's another streaming service you might not need. They do have really good programming on there, like not just the games, but
old programming
too. They have the 30 for 30s and new documentaries and docuseries and whatnot. Like it is a good platform to have.
I'm excited by this. And most of what I saw online yesterday, the people who were responding, there were hundreds of responses to this, were negative, saying, oh, man, another streaming service. They just want more money out of me and everything. But this looks to me like it's going to simplify streaming services a bit, Bob. Make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's fine. It's good. And when you have the powerhouses that Pat mentioned, ESPN, is it Disney also, Pat? And
well,
Fox?
yeah, so
Fox,
ESPN's owned by
and
Disney.
Yeah, they're the same. Yeah, you just wonder, when are they all going to come together and it's going to be like regular TV was anyway, where you can
It's
get
going to be
everything
like cable on a
stream
on a
service.
stream
Yeah,
service.
exactly. So, yeah, we just changed up. I think told you guys before we changed to YouTube TV.
I love it.
A few months ago, and it's been fine with us as long as I can get what I can get. I don't notice what I can't get when I don't get it. Like I don't have what do you call it?
Explain that to me.
I don't have what the hell is the NFL thing with Crawford?
NFL Network?
No, the
Red Zone.
Oh, the Red Zone. You don't do that.
I don't have Red Zone anymore. Did I like to look at it the past? Yeah, because I had it. Now that I don't have it, it doesn't bother me.
You can get it cheaper though with the YouTube TV.
Yeah, I don't.
I love Red Zone. I couldn't do without it.
Yeah, I'm
Like, to
different.
me,
I zone into the games instead. I can't go all over the place. My brain will explode. I'm too stupid.
I think this is a great thing, Pat. And it was I did a Business of Sports on it the other day saying how overall, though, live events is the way that streaming services and cable and all them are going crazy and are doing great as far as for streaming, for younger people catching up. But news programs, things like SportsCenter and things like that have really dropped off. Like the younger generation isn't watching them.
I'll tell you, like ESPN News, and I've had it recently where I have wanted to go and watch SportsCenter, and it hasn't been available. And ESPN News, when they started out, was that. It was 24/7 SportsCenter.
Right.
And then you'll go to ESPN News, and they've got some, like Big Sky basketball game going on in ESPN News, and you're like, I just kind of want to get caught up and get some highlights or something quick. I got like a half hour before bed. Like, let's just cram it in. And it's like, no, I'm watching like Montana go up against Winthrop.
I agree with you.
And it's like, and look, and I understand why they're doing it, but it's frustrating that they don't really, ESPN News is no longer ESPN News. It's like MTV with music. Like, they don't really play music anymore. It's, all different reality shows and stuff. And it's disheartening. So it's understandable about why these news shows have gone by the wayside with sports fans, because you have it on Twitter, but also when I actually want the product and want to consume it, I can't. And
you don't even really remember when like stuff like MTV was music. Like you grew up in the real world.
Yes,
road
and no.
rules and
yes
all
and
that,
no.
right?
I mean, I grew up like mid-90s where there was a good smattering of the music, and TRL was like my music catch
so
up and stuff. But yeah, like I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't watching Road Rules. That was my show. Loved Road Rules. Real World? Yeah, absolutely. 7 strangers picked to live in a house and have their lives taped.
I got tired.
Find out what happens when people stop being real. Yes.
This is how bad of a TV watcher I am. And Pat, you make fun of me for it all the time. But there's shows sometimes that I'll go to because, like, all right, I got to just, like, clear my mind of watching, I don't know, sports a lot. So I would used to go, like, Life Below Zero, which is people living in Alaska, living off the land and all that stuff. Well, now ever since, this is how much of an idiot I am. Ever since we got YouTube TV, it's too far down the dial because it doesn't do numbers. You can't just go like 847 and put it on. You got to go all the way down the list.
Well, you can arrange your list.
No, it's too much.
You can like program it or DVR all of them.
So now what happens when I do it, it just lists what it knows I'm going to watch. And it's, basketball, hockey, football, basketball, and I just pick one of them. So I have totally stopped watching Life Below Zero just because it's too far down on the...
Yeah, that's ultimate laziness because I have shows that I have DVR'd and they'll DVR all of them. So there's a show on, and it's kind of like Your Life Below Zero. It's on like one of like the History Channel or something. It's called like Mysteries at the Museum, and they'll go to different museums around the country and they'll focus on like one item and they'll tell you the backstory. And it's really interesting. But that's my show of. I'll check that out when there's nothing going on. I kind of just need like background noise or I got a quick half hour. You can do that, Bobby. Like, just find Life Below Zero and click like
you just
record
click
all.
add to you do go add to library,
and then
it'll
it adds
every
to your
episode
library.
will be and you have unlimited DVR, so it doesn't matter.
No, don't give me that nag.
So here's what I have. So on the guide up front, when you hit live and you go down, it'll show like what it thinks you're going to watch. And yeah, for me, it's all sports, and then it'll have now my go-to getaway, which is Everybody Loves Raymond.
You love that.
Which was a show that I liked back in the day.
Yeah, a former sports writer loves a show about a sports writer.
Well, because it's funny because
it really is.
Well, the one of the premises of the show is that, not only is he a sports writer, but his wife thinks in general he's an idiot. And my wife can really relate to that.
Yes.
Yes.
So, like, it's something that we kind of can share in, too.
There is a, oh, gosh, I don't know if I can, how do I dance around this? There is an old show that, Pat, you may have mentioned in the last 5 minutes that I know for a fact that there is an effort to bring back that show with original cast members moving into the villages and reunite
Shrek?
people that used to live together on TV
Yes.
with cameras and everything, but have them live in a house in the villages. And
Okay.
what kind of trouble they would bring to the villages, and could they all live together now in their 50s? And so, would you watch that?
I don't need an update on Puck. I'm okay.
Puck, he's going to
I'm all right.
Jersey Shore, whatever, they're doing that
They're
now.
doing
right?
that
They're
now,
all getting
yes.
together.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Hey, I mean, you got to pay bills.
Hey, Andrew's in the mix. Andrew, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, guys. Great show this morning.
Thank you, buddy.
So I work at Disney, but not in the ESPN, the sports side. But having conversations and being a huge sports fan, there's reason why CBS is omitted. They're trying to sell that company. So Paramount wants to go and sell it, and if Apple buys it, you could see CBS there. But if Amazon buys it, they're going to put it out on their own stuff with NFL Network Thursday games.
But
And then the one reason why-
you know what's weird though is that Wall Street believes that that ABC wants to unload ESPN.
They want a partnership, I think, and that's the important piece. Partnership to keep it, but I don't think they want. This is just one piece of the bigger puzzle that ESPN wants. I mean, it's a big deal to keep this live sports and bring back the advertising, so I think that's a huge deal. But the one piece on NBC not being a part of it is Comcast is fighting big time for billions of dollars to offload Hulu in the next quarter, and that's a huge deal that is going to cost Disney a lot of money. So they didn't want to bring them in there. But if this is successful, you could see the NFL probably in the next broadcast rights requiring it to be part of it, and that would be a huge deal in the 2030s.
Well, this is going to be the first. This is going to be the first Super Bowl available on a streaming service, right? With Paramount
Paid
Plus.
streaming. It's a paid streaming service.
And they're
Everything else
with
is
the
free.
first one you've ever been with Paramount Plus, and Matt Ryan they have doing all the ads for it. Is that it's setting up there. So good stuff. Appreciate the insight, Andrew. It's a new world. It's a new world of sports viewing. I love the streaming services. I mean,
I do too, to a certain extent, but I'm also someone that I have HBO. My buddy has YouTube TV,
and you swap passwords.
I'm not subscribing to all these.
I love you. I'm glad we made the move to YouTube TV.
YouTube TV is awesome.
The only thing I don't like is the whole process of getting to TV. That turning it on.
Oh yeah, it takes
you
a couple minutes.
It takes like a minute to get to where you can choose the channels. I think they'll streamline that. I think they'll find a way to be able to streamline that. And whoever comes up with the television that can jump between streaming services, whoever comes up with that technology first is going to be one that I will absolutely put up for the Nobel Prize. Because they're having to go from Max to Netflix.
Because who doesn't deserve a Nobel Prize for making your life 5 seconds easier?
No, I think it's more than 5 seconds, though, bouncing between
I used to laugh. I told you, with the old cable, like I'd be watching a game on one channel, and I'd switch, say, to ABC, and I would hit, 806. And then it would come up on my screen saying, to get here quicker, next time, just say 6 ABC. Like, how lazy are we? That'd be going bing, 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 and then now talking to it to be quicker?
How lazy are we?
Exactly.
You never
7 minutes ago, you're breaking down. I used to love this show, and I don't watch anymore because it's a few channels up from the clicker. And now we're going, how lazy are we?
Yeah, right.
Show me,
Love you, Bobby.
Yeah, show me Action News. As it is, these things.
As opposed to going 806.
Hey, Jay joins us on the Fanatic. Jay, thanks for holding, buddy.
Hey, no problem. I got Kincade, I got a homework project for you.
I love it.
If you could do that for me.
Well, I have to teach tonight. I'm the one who gives out homework. I'm not the one who has to do it. But I'll take it from Professor Jay. What's going on?
All right. No, I'm gonna bring it to you last because it's gonna be a little work for you. And I got one for Eager too. But Bob, when you was talking earlier about Embiid and the great players, the other bigs, I think a lot of his injuries come from him having to do too much on the perimeter. Like, he didn't really have Maxey, to me, and Hard were the first perimeter players that he had to play with. But it's still like for a big guy, he's doing too much. And I think that's like a lot of where his injuries come from.
Maybe you could be right, Jay, but like, does he play a more physical game than Shaq did?
Nope.
Does he use his feet more than, say, a Kevin Durant does? I mean, Patrick Ewing played in an era where it was physical. You can go up and down the line. I hear you. And maybe he handles the ball a little bit more. But for this amount of injuries that he's only 67, more than 60 games once, than all these other guys, like, I don't know. And there's, somebody said on YouTube to me, Jay, they said, yeah, but Bob, he has more skills than those other guys does.
Really?
What does, okay, but how does that lend to all these injuries?
Because, I'm just seeing him handling the ball on the perimeter where there's a lot more bodies and all that. And he never had a perimeter player to, like, feed him the ball where he didn't have to do as much work. So that's where I see him getting a lot of his injuries, like with the broken faces. I mean, he was out there up top with Markelle Fultz and then Pascal. So I think a lot of his freak injuries come from being in the perimeter.
All right, what's the homework assignment? Because we got to get you on here. Sounds like It sounds like you're snow sledding.
Oh no, I'm working. I'm a deliverer. I'm a hockey novice, so I always wanted somebody to like explain the players to me.
Right.
But like, if you could pick up a couple hockey players and like give me their comp and the NBA players, so I can understand it.
I like that, Pat. We can maybe try that. We can maybe try that for Jay.
Yeah, let me.
Jay, we'll do a little research on that. We'll do that for you,
Pat,
Jay.
And Pat, one thing for you, Pat, is the GM Bryce Harper. Is he gonna buy Montgomery or no?
I think every day that goes by, there's a better chance of Montgomery coming here.
You
on
do?
Like a 1 year, 1 year deal. Because at this point, pitchers and catchers are reporting in a couple days, and
somebody's coming.
Yeah, you want it. If you're a pitcher, just as a creature of habit, you want to know where you're going so you can prepare mentally for it. And at this point, if that big money contract isn't coming, all right, I'll sign a 1 year deal with a good team where I could probably showcase that in the postseason. Montgomery being a Boris client, we all know Bryce Harper's a Boris client. It makes a lot of sense, but I wouldn't be shocked if they go, you know what, we're good with Christopher Sanchez. We'll save the money a little bit. We'll look at the deadline. But, yeah, I think every day that goes by, there's a better chance of that happening.
People telling me, like, you don't want to have, like, I love Johan Rojas. Love him. And I would like to see him be the everyday center fielder. But if you told me that for this year, Cody Bellinger could be here, I'm like, okay, well, that's an upgrade. It's absolutely an upgrade. Maybe not defensively, but it's absolutely an upgrade offensively. The idea is that if you bring in Montgomery, you bring in, are we just then where are the young pitchers getting? What do you do with the Sanchez? Don't tell me put him in the bullpen where he never pitches.
I do not want to see another. Let's put him in the bullpen. Okay, spot start.
Exactly.
Okay,
right.
Now he's a long man. He can. No. Like, please, God, don't do that.
Well, then what do you do?
And that's the issue. Like, what do you do?
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And I thought Sanchez last year, and listening to Ricky Bowe talk about him on the best show ever, and when he visits with us, he saw strides forward.
Yeah. With the way baseball's going now, I'm starting to lean towards you do need 6 starters. And I don't know how you juggle that 6-1, if it's up and down with the minors, if it's spot starts here and there. Is he a long reliever at times? I know you hate it, Pat, and I'm kind of there with you. I'd rather have 5 and go. But the way baseball's going now, doesn't it seem like you kind of need 5 and then that asterisk 6 starter?
It certainly does.
But that asterisk 6 starter is usually the guy in AAA that you bring up.
Yeah, but they don't even do that anymore.
And they don't, and that's the thing, they don't.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's weird.
I don't like it.
All right, Bob wants to play a pricing game with us, and you know he hates prices right. How much would you be willing to pay? Plus Pat's takes and more. It'll be an entertaining race to the finish line. It's the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Does Belichick speak
Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Whenever I hear Bob wants to play a pricing game, I'm all over it. Because I'm thinking maybe he's coming around to becoming a big fan of The Price is Right.
Nah.
I want to go. I want to go beyond it. I really want to go beyond it. I want to go. Come on, Bob. A new car.
Bob Cooney,
come
on down.
Yes, imagine. By the way,
Bob would be the first guy not to run down excited. He'd be like, crap.
By the way, Vincent says he would pay $10 a month in a streaming service to watch Bob Cooney on a older version edition of The Real World. He would pay big $10 a month.
What was the premise of that? Just to live with other people you don't know?
Seven strangers
living in a home.
Isn't there one of them? My wife watches one of them now, right? It's
pick to live in a house.
Big Brother. She doesn't watch Big Brother, does she?
Yeah,
Bob,
she
oh
does,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Bob wouldn't be able to handle. He wouldn't be able to handle The Real World because they didn't have TVs.
Yeah, it's just
they weren't allowed to watch TV.
I don't. Do they in this other show either?
What, Big Brother?
It seems like they just sit around and have sex and talk about how to get rid of somebody else or something.
Yeah, I think you're watching Big Brother.
That is. It's awful. Okay. Bob's gonna play a pricing game with us coming up, so you're gonna stick with that. As far as understanding, how much are you willing to pay? I want to know what the question is. But first, let's have Pat's takes.
With or without. Either way, it's time for Pat's Takes.
Yes, third time was a charm hitting that button.
It is. See, you said you'd make a mistake.
I did,
I
yes.
made a couple.
Lived up to that. So for, who was that, Tony?
Tony.
Tony.
T-O-N-I. And
yes.
And it was, how do we know it wasn't Tony Perrone? Could have been.
It might have been.
It might have been. Maybe she's just pissed that we're making mistakes.
So for Tony out there, there you go.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, so this first story, as I wait for it to load, because my computer crashed at the exact same time.
Oh, that's great.
So we're having a blast here. First story up is regarding. This is fun. It's literally loading as we speak.
That's unbelievable.
How you guys doing? How's your day?
We're doing great, Pat. It's it's great.
I kind of overbooked myself today, Pat. I'm a little upset right now.
You overbooked himself.
Oh yeah, how'd you do that? Well, let me tell you, Pat. I'll tell you why. Because I went to do a car service today at 11:15, and I called my wife and I said, "Don't forget I have that," and she goes, "Yeah, and don't forget you have horseback riding too at 1:30."
So how are you going to do that with the car service?
Awful close. I got to go to the car people as soon as I get there and say, "Look, I don't ask for favors often, but I got to be out of here by like 1:15."
Now you're doing it. You're doing the car service today, and I'm doing it tomorrow.
See that? Great minds.
Great minds think alike.
All right,
Is it loaded, Pat?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So for the first story, I'm going to have to go on memory of what I wrote because everything got erased.
Oh, that's great.
So a lot of fans out there constantly during a game will say, I can do better, whether it be against the athlete itself, whether it be a coach, a coordinator, even an owner or CEO. They go, geez, I could do better than this guy, right? But rarely does that person ever actually apply for the job. Well, when the Packers had a defensive opening for their defensive coordinator spot, a Packers fan named Bill decided, you know what? I can do better. And I think I'm going to apply. And he sent CEO Mark Murphy his resume.
Really?
Now, the resume wasn't all that impressive, all right? And he admitted as much, saying, hey, I wasn't a great high school football player. I admit that. But what he did have was not only gumption. He also had a trophy case full of fantasy football trophies.
Oh,
Very impressive.
there it is.
Very impressive, yes. The cover letter said something to the effect of, hey, I hear you have a job opening, and I'm thinking I could help with this whole defensive coordinator spot. Go, Pack, go.
Really?
Now, I don't know how many beers with Bob this guy decided to have in the case of making this illustrious resume and cover letter and sending it off, but I don't know what's more surprising, the fact that he sent it or the fact he actually got a handwritten letter from Mark Murphy.
I think that's fantastic on Murphy's part.
Yeah, now, look, it's shocking that he got the handwritten response, but it's also shocking that it even got to Murphy in the first place.
Yes.
Because the fact that this resume that's from some guy ended up on the desk of the CEO of the team is pretty surprising. But Murphy said, hey, thanks so much for your interest. We do appreciate it. We're going in a different direction. We do hear, though, that the Bears have an opening, so maybe you're better suited there. Thanks a lot, CEO Mark Murphy.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great on many aspects. The fact that he took the time to write this fan named Bill a response. The fact that he got a dig in on his division rival, Chicago Bears. But this also, I think, is hope out there for everybody that might have thought, hypothetically speaking, during this last football season that maybe they could do better than a certain defensive coordinator tandem, or maybe better than an offensive coordinator who had an affinity for bubble screens on third and long. There is hope that your resume, being very illustrious, could get to the powers that be. You might not get the job, but at least they'll read it. In the meantime, Bill has taken the rejection letter in stride, and he says that he's willing to get back to the drawing board and boost his resume with some Madden trophies to add to the case.
That's
Bill.
That's really well done. Like, that to me is really well done.
Yeah, it's a positive on all fronts, and then obviously the Packers got the former Boston College head coach to be their DC. So they did end up going in a different direction. All right, now we will go to a league that we rarely talk about, the Premier League. Arsenal is flourishing this season as they sit second from the top of the table, only 3 points behind the top spot. They're led by former player Mikel Arteta, who has seen it all from his days as a player and now a manager. And that includes, it's a fun name to say, and that includes players being at each other's throats. And while the team is flourishing on the pitch, in the locker room, it might have been a different story. Defender Ben White and midfielder Alexander Zinchenko, another fun name to say, got into it recently during a game against Nottingham Forest. Arsenal ended up winning the match 2-1, but Arteta had a headache of what to do with his two players and how to deal with it. So instead of talking it out, maybe just ignoring the problem and hoping that, cooler heads will prevail, Arteta decided to go a different route. He's making the players live with each other.
What?
But the bonding doesn't just stop with sharing a Netflix password. It goes to sharing other things. Arteta, when asked by the media about the relationship between the two players, told the press, quote, they've been living together for the past few days, sharing wives and everything.
What?
Now, on the surface, this is shocking. But it's nothing new, gentlemen, and I know Bob will remember this well. I will remind you of the 1973 Yankees and the bonding that took place with that team amidst disco and much more. That was when Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich announced that they had made a trade in the offseason. They had made a family trade. They traded wives and kids. Hard to say who won the trade because Sue was more attractive, but Maryland made a meat chicken piccata. But this actually did happen. They decided to trade wives.
They traded wives.
So it's not the first time in sports that this occurrence has taken place.
1 for 1, no future considerations.
No, it was just, hey, I like your wife, you like my wife. Let's make a swap, and they were into it. But hey, it was the 70s. So in a way, it was a win for both teams. The bonding for the Yankees didn't really produce wins on the field, though, as the Yankees finished 4th in the AL East. But doesn't mean it won't work for Arsenal. And it may just work for us, as sources say. I'm in advanced talks to acquire Donna from Bob. But the asking price is quite high at the moment. I'm holding out for a better offer as the trade deadline approaches on Thursday, which we will cover right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Yes.
You're holding out for a better offer?
Well,
you ain't getting one, buddy.
I need the price to go down a little bit. Like you're asking the moon and the stars. I don't have that right now.
She's a saint.
Yeah, and look, I'm willing to throw in a couple of future first-round picks and a P.J. Wellens gift card, but that's all I got at the moment. All right, today in sports, 1932, we saw the first Olympic dog sled race. I know everybody's dialed into that one. In 1958, Ted Williams became the highest-paid player in baseball with the Red Sox. Any guesses on how much he got paid?
How much? 56?
1958.
Okay, $75,000.
Bobby?
I'll go a little lower. I'll go 50.
$135,000.
Wow.
Wow, that was big.
Yeah, big money.
Teddy.
1970, the NBA expanded to 18 teams when they added Buffalo, Cleveland, Houston, and Portland. In 1971, Alan Shepard was the first person to hit a golf ball on the moon. And then, unfortunately, in 2005, the Patriots defeated the Eagles in the Super Bowl. But don't worry, though. They did get their revenge 13 years later.
Hey, what were those 4 NBA franchises?
We had Buffalo, Cleveland, Houston, and Portland.
All right, Buffalo Braves.
Yep.
Kansas City? I don't even remember.
No, Cleveland.
Oh, what?
Yeah, Cleveland.
Cleveland, Houston,
Cleveland
Portland.
Cavaliers, Portland, and what was the last one?
Houston, Cleveland,
Houston.
Portland,
Okay.
and Buffalo.
Wow. The Buffalo Braves. And they became?
I meant to look this up too.
They didn't.
No,
Bob and I should know this because I remember vaguely the Buffalo Braves.
They didn't become Charlotte.
No, Charlotte was an expansion both times. I think, right? Or no, the
I don't know
relocation.
who they became.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
I said that's one
Randy
that
Smith was one of their guards that was really good. Bob McAdoo spent some time there in Buffalo. Was a really good player.
I remember doing a big feature on them probably back in the day. Your grade school kid writing in the paper.
Yeah.
They became the San Diego Clippers.
Yes.
And that
there you
team
go.
Very good.
The Los Angeles Clippers.
Very good, Pat. Excellent job with Pat.
We're wealth of knowledge, guys. I appreciate you guys trying to filibuster during my technical glitches here.
We tried. We did our best.
You did try. It's appreciated.
Yes, the 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. I appreciate them, too. The Bagster's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's, and for details, go to bagster.com. So, Bobby, the question you have for us involves pricing and what people are willing to spend. I love these games. You're like Drew Carey in the morning for us.
So I'm not going to ask you for specific dollar amounts, but let's do it this way. Would you pay, considering what the Eagles are now, would you pay money for the best quarterback in the league? I'll just start it by saying, no, you're settled in on.
Right, you're already set with Jalen Hurts. Right?
You have $250 million. All right, would you pay for the best running back in the league?
No.
All right, would you pay for one of the best wide receivers in the league?
No.
Would you pay for the best tight end in the league?
I'd have to
You
consider.
just wanted to cut money from the tight end that's already here, so your answer would have to be
but
no.
I believe you can upgrade. But I'm not. No, I would pass on that too.
Okay.
I had to think about it though, but I'd pass on it.
All right. Would you pay for the best edge rusher in the NFL?
Yes.
Okay. Edge rusher. Pat, how about you?
Yeah, I would do the best edge rusher. Yeah.
Okay.
Any of the other ones you jump in on, Pat? Would you say?
Are we just talking like a general, like you're replacing Jalen Hurts with this person, or are you just saying like, hey?
No, as the Eagles are currently constructed, would you pay for that?
Oh yeah, edge rusher, absolutely.
Okay. How about interior defensive lineman?
No. You've invested too much in the draft.
One, you only get one choice. Best linebacker in the league.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, even considering the money, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, no sweat.
Yes.
Very good answer. Best safety in the league.
No. I would draft one. I'm not paying for one.
Probably would not.
Now you're paying the best, so probably the best money.
I do like the young core they have. I think Sidney Brown will end up being a pretty good safety. Don't hate Reed Blankenship. So yeah, I say no.
Would you pay for the best center in football?
No.
This is where it comes down to. This is why I put it all together.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait a minute. Are you putting blank face on it, or are you putting Jason Kelsey's face on it?
Oh, no, it's Jason Kelsey's face.
Yeah. So I did have that thought process.
That's why I did this little exercise for you guys.
I did have the thought of, is it Jason Kelsey? But yeah.
God, I'd hate to have to do it. But
you're going back with the offensive line you had last year, and I like the offensive line last year. So yeah.
I didn't think the offensive line was that great last year.
I thought the weakest part was Cam Jurgens. I'm being honest with you.
Oh, I think if you were pointing to how about this? I don't think Jason Kelsey was as good as the year before. I don't think Jordan Mailata was close to as good as the year before.
Oh, he was hurt the year before and did that.
Yeah, and had that shoulder thing. But I didn't think this year he was impactful. I mean, I don't know. I liked Landon Dickerson this year on the ascent.
Lane Johnson, Landon
Lane
Dickerson,
Johnson is
Cam
just
Jurgens
fantastic.
Was as Pat said, might have been the worst, but I thought the offensive line was fine. But I find it funny. You go through all the positions on your whole football team. There's only a couple that you would pay the best to be. You have a chance to do that. Many still consider him the best center in football. You have a chance to do it. It's right there at your front door. Part of me says, yeah, why wouldn't you? Another part of me says, I don't know.
I don't want to see Jason Kelsey gone, and I think you're a rotten scoundrel for even coming up with this question. It's a great way to look at it, because to me, I heard it yesterday on Middays with Andrew Salchunas and Ray Dunn talking about this, and Andrew's like, and Ray's like, I think you maybe have to think about spending that money elsewhere. Like 16, like this year was 15 or 16 million. I'm telling you, with the deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball, and I hear people talk about, well, the leadership in that locker room. Sell me something else, because the franchise had no leadership in that locker room, or you don't collapse 1-6. It fell apart. Whatever happened, people either weren't. It might not have been the leaders that are to blame. It might have been that the leaders don't connect with the followers. So to me, I
would you want to be labeled a follower if you were a professional sports player?
A first or second year player, I'd have no problem with
how
it.
many of them are really helping this Eagles team this past year? How many first and second year players were vital to their on the field play this year?
Well, Davis and Carter are too.
Yeah.
And if they weren't getting the message enough from a Fletcher Cox, or weren't getting a message enough from a Brandon Graham, or otherwise than that, then maybe it's the inefficiency of the coaching staff that didn't get that message across, or immaturity. It took a guy like Joel Embiid, who everybody idolizes in the town. It took a long time for Joel Embiid to learn what it took to be a professional. I think part of the reason Vic Fangio's here is to teach these guys how to be a professional.
I think it's tough at times, though, when you as a leader can sit there and tell younger guys the company line, the right message, we got to buy in and do all that. And at times you'll hear that, but you can tell that it's hollow and that person doesn't even believe what they're saying.
Right.
And you can sit there and actually believe it on a Monday and a Tuesday. And then the install happens and it's like, all right, in case of emergency, break glass, 3rd and 18, we're doing bubble screens. And you're like, what are we, again? So I don't necessarily put last year so much on the leadership core. I do think they have a part in this, but I think the part is so minuscule because they could say everything they want, but it's got to be frustrating when ultimately you're being led by guys that you don't think are competent. And that's Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, Sean Desai, Matt Patricia.
So it's not your peers leading you. It's that you're rejecting. It's the adults that are paid to be the coaches.
Or it's the peers that you're looking to lead, which I still have a problem with, but that's okay. If you're looking at a Jason Kelsey and a Fletcher Cox and you're younger playing saying, man, where are these guys? Well, they might be looking, as Pat said, above them and saying, yeah, where are those guys? Meaning, where is Nick Sirianni? Where is Brian Johnson? Where is Matt Patricia? Like, I can't help these younger guys when they're putting in crap positions to try to succeed. Yeah, hey, keep your head up, man. I know this coaching sucks, but keep your head up.
I get you. I just have heard so much about, well, you got to keep these guys around for veteran leadership. And honestly, the veteran leadership got nothing done last year when this team needed it. Nothing. Nothing done.
What do you want them to do? Like, I
can look at, I don't know how many times I've seen, documentaries. In fact, Pat and I love the documentaries about players like the Kobe Bryants of the world being guys who were sons to some of their teammates, but that led by example, led by getting in guys' faces, challenging guys, challenging the young players. I know Shaq did it to Kobe. And Shaq wasn't the best leader.
All right, so give me 5 of my starters that are Shaq and Kobe, and I don't care the sport, I'm probably going to win.
Well, if you talk about Kelsey's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I'm saying is if you have 11 guys out there and you have a coach that's putting 11 guys in the wrong position, I can try to play up, say, like, man, play harder, play harder, play harder. And they're playing as hard as they can when the ball's over there and they're over there.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
The plan is bad.
My whole look on leadership is probably not everybody's.
You have the odd. I mean, you honestly, you have I'm not saying oddest as far as you're wrong. I'm saying oddest that I've ever heard about leadership.
Yeah, look, there are leaders, and how do you?
And I don't think it makes you just because someone else is a leader. It doesn't make you a follower. It doesn't mean because there's a negative connotation to follower. Just because someone's a leader doesn't mean that you're like standing behind them like a puppy going, well, what do I do next? What do I do next? It's the idea that you observe someone and you say, the way they do their business is the way I'm going to do it. The way they put their heads down, the way that they come prepared, the way that they do this, that leadership to me, you and I just look at leadership as 2 different words.
So if I'm an athlete and I like to be lazy and I'm a really good athlete, but I don't want to work as hard as everybody else, maybe my leader is a guy that does that. Maybe my leader's a guy, oh, look at him, man. Yeah, he went out last night. He was out late. He's here today.
Like an
He's
Iverson.
showing up. Maybe.
Allen Iverson could be your hero.
A leader is only a leader because somebody follows what he does and enjoy and benefit or admires what he does. That doesn't mean your admiration is put in the right place easy.
I get you. I know what
just
you're
look
saying.
deeper into it than probably I should. But I've had long conversations with many athletes, professional athletes, and I've had a lot of them say to me, "Yeah, leader, I'm a professional athlete. I don't need to look up to anybody. Like, I work as hard as I can, and nobody has to teach me how to work harder." And now I've had others say, "Yeah, I love watching the way he goes about his business," and I understand both sides of it. I just think it's a little bit overdone if I was writing a story on it, it's a little overdone and a little overstated.
Nick Nurse talks about it, though, that you need that a coach without, I forget what wording he uses in his book, a coach without lieutenants, I guess, or whatever, that are carrying the message on for the coaching staff are deemed a failure. Like, you have to get somebody the biggest, most important names in the room have to buy in, and they have to be willing to carry the water along with you. Everybody's got to be rowing the rowboat in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to sell his message to the biggest guys in the room, and then the biggest guys in the room make sure that everybody else is following along and doing it too. Is that not leadership, or do you not consider that leadership?
Well, I go and I listen to what a coach is telling me to do. If I'm a professional athlete and I'm good enough to do it there, and I do it. And do I need somebody else to show me how to do it or do it better than it? No, I'm doing it as hard as I can in the way that I do it. There's people in this world that don't look for leader. Do I admire the way somebody else plays? Might I imitate the way somebody else does something because I admire that? Yeah. Okay, but I don't know if I, have to say they're a leader. It's semantics.
It's a word that you do not. It's a word you do not like.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it's a word that I think if we were to gather 100 professional athletes and we were to gather and I ask their synopsis on leaders and do you need leaders? Does the team need leaders? Are you a leader? I guarantee it wouldn't be as simple as, oh, yeah, we need leaders, and I look to such and such as leader. I don't think it'd be that simple.
No, what's interesting is that I know from having been involved in the conversation on our podcast, Shaq talked about how Rick Fox led younger guys.
Oh, yeah.
How Rick Fox was a guy that younger guys sort of coalesced behind, wanting to be sort of like as cool as Rick Fox, as professional as Rick Fox, as slick as Rick Fox, as everything. And he said Rick Fox never set out to say, I'm the boss in this room. You listen to me, whatever. He was just a guy that professional athletes sort of.
Yeah, and they also wanted to be a better basketball player than Rick Fox because he was just a so-so professional. But you know what I mean? So, I can look at a guy, like I said, the example I gave. Wow, he's really lazy, but the coaches still like him. And so I want to be like that. Leaders are just what is perceived in that person's mind. And I do. I think.
I don't think that's wrong. Yeah,
I think it's just overstated in professional sports a little bit.
You don't think of Andrew Salchunas as a guy who hates something or who hates people. But Andrew hates this. So I want to turn it into something that we ask you a question about. John Kincade Show, here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles not
9 o'clock hour. Get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to bagster.com. Get that cleanup done. Should be part of your spring cleaning and things like that. It has been so beautiful this week. It's going to get cold again next week, though. So grab yourself a Bagster. Get done some of those projects when you can. On that talk of leadership, it got Richard wanting to discuss it. The idea is that what does the word mean? And Richard joins us on The Fanatic. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, Richard.
Hi, Richard.
Hey, so I think the real question is, what type of leadership style do we want in the locker room? What type of leadership style do we want from the coaches? Everyone has a different style. Do we want transformational leadership, authentic leadership, servant leadership, servant leadership? That.
What do you prefer? What kind of leadership do you prefer, or is it just situational for you?
I think we need a transformational leadership in the locker room, and then the coach, he needs to bring his coaching leadership skills and his servant leadership skills, where he's willing to put in the work, get dirty with the guys on the field, and also lead by example.
See, I think that Nick Sirianni's got the servant part of it. Thank you, buddy. I just don't know that he's got the plan. Like, I think he knows all the motivational stuff. He knows how to make people feel comfortable at work, and one of the ways that he does it is giving them the easiest work schedule in the NFL, which most employees would be like, yeah, I do love this. This is awesome. I'm being asked to work the least.
It's like I said, you could be a player that wants to do the least amount you have to do in order to be on that field, court, ice, whatever. So that's who you follow. That's your leader, the guy that does that best. It's just from within. Who do you like? Like, okay, I'll give you an example. You could be the best player on the team, the hardest working player on the team. You score a touchdown, you make a big basket, and you start jumping up and down, and you go into the stands and start pointing to yourself. That doesn't resonate with me.
No, it doesn't with me.
With me, just me.
I don't like it either for a team.
Yeah, but that guy's work ethic could be phenomenal. That could be an aspect I don't like. Does that knock him down a notch as far as things I'm going to follow with him? I don't know. It's just an individual thing. I do. I think we overstate it. Look, if a coach is going to teach you and put in a game plan and ask you to follow it, does that make him a leader? Well, a coach, by definition, you're the leader of the team. Yeah, I mean, you're the guy that's setting out all of the rules and all of the plays and all of that stuff. But as far as getting myself to be the best player I can be, do I need to follow a leader? Yeah, that's an individual decision.
And right now, the leadership of the Eagles is something that has been, let's just say, it was lacking last year. That team was rudderless down the stretch. It was completely rudderless. And I'm thinking, how many guys in that locker room have clout, have the ability to say, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and it meant nothing to getting that team or their performances, by the way. And it's pointed out here, and Andrew, thank you for doing the work. The Eagles, down the stretch, offensive line and defensive lines were terrible down the stretch in that 7-game stretch. Scoring out, Pro Football Focus, whether you like it or not, scoring out in the bottom 25% of the NFL. I mean, it was the veterans.
They weren't very talented.
Veterans. Well, the offensive line was, and they had a terrible run at the end of the year. Bad pass protection. Jalen Hurts constantly under duress. It's just
if you had leadership, it'd be better.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say is that if those are the guys that people would look to, as you always hear about veteran leadership in the locker room. If those guys were our veteran leaders, nothing came from it. It didn't when the bus was.
When do you hear about leadership most?
What do you say? When
do you hear about leadership most? What teams talk about leadership most? When things are going well.
That is correct. You hear more about it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, don't you want to model yourself after those teams?
Yeah, but I mean,
if you hear about it when things are going well, you hear about leadership. Then people try to model yourself after? You want to be successful. Yeah, here's how the successful people do it. That's why successful people write books.
Yeah, I just, in sports, if you're not playing well, I don't know how much somebody coming up to you and telling you to play better helps. I mean, yeah, teaching is teaching. Right. And schematics is schematics and all of that stuff. You're at a pro level because you belong there talent-wise. why you're not reaching that talent, why the Eagles didn't in all phases of the football the last 7 weeks of the season, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if words from Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and the likes, I don't know if words were going to take them out of that. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to say I have the answers.
Exactly.
I've labeled how I feel about the over-talk, in my opinion, of leadership.
Andrew Salchunas isn't a guy who hates. Right, Pat?
No, he's a lovable fella.
Lovable,
He gave me a hug this morning.
Isn't that sweet?
We shake hands every morning and say hello to each other officially, but today he felt the need to give me a hug.
Really?
Not sure why.
Okay.
Maybe I got a pink slip coming or something. I don't know.
I'm not
working
sure.
with you, Bobby.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear Andrew get very vehemently about something that he hates the other day in middays on The Fanatic. He hates mock drafts. Like, with the heat of 1,000 suns, Andrew the voice went up a little bit. He got animated, and he went on this rant about, I cannot stand mock draft season. Cannot stand mock drafts, hate listening to them, don't like hearing about them and everything. And it was funny because very rarely do you hear Andrew going off about like, man, this is something that I can't stand. I thought about it, and I tried to think in sports. Is there something in sports that you would get as passionate about and dislike as much as Andrew Salchunas hates mock drafts? So it's not somebody. It's
Right.
not a player. It's not a coach. It's something. It's something innocuous in the media, these mock drafts, and it got such a reaction out of Andrew. It was ear-opening for me. I was like, wow, he really, really hates these things. Is there anything that does that for you?
That's funny because mock drafts, I'd love that. Well, we'll have this conversation with them some other time, but I use it only to get information. Oh, wow, here's the top 3 corners that it seems all these mock drafts has. Let me learn about them, all of that stuff. So I don't hate mock drafts. I use them as educational pieces.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people look at it as, well, when there's a trade, this is all going to fall in the crapper. And I get that because I understand that that's sort of like you're thinking, okay, this guy said the Bears were going to take this player or the Carolina Panthers were going to take this player. The way I judge it is mock draft is how many of your players that you had in the first 32 off the board go in the first 32 off the board.
Right, yeah.
That to me is saying, did you have a good mock draft? If you had a good mock draft, you got 26, 27 of the guys. If you got by the way, if you get 26 or 27 of the names, you're doing excellent by mock draft standards. So to me, that's how I judge a mock draft.
Yeah.
I look at it for the names and not for that. But is there anything in...
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
And I'll keep it with what's coming up this weekend. I cannot stand the abnormality of a football game that is the biggest game of the season, and that is the Super Bowl. I can't stand it.
The abnormality of it. Explain.
You have you get the players and coaches on the field. Normally they'll come on the field, national anthem, boom, you play the game. This one, they'll get on the field. It'll be a good 20 to 25 minutes before they start playing the football game. Let alone you play the game, then comes changing the football almost every time. All of that. It comes to halftime, which is a half hour long. Can't stand that. It takes away from the normality of what you're trying to get a championship from, and that's how these teams play football. You're making it abnormal by the surroundings of it. So, the halftime, all of the delays, all of those things, I just want a normal I know it's impossible, and I'm not being a curmudgeon. I'm not. Halftime shows, that's great. All right, have the show at 2 o'clock. And let that be the big show. I just want the football game to be as normal as possible so I can see the greatest football players, the 2 greatest teams, play the normal game that they've played all year to decide who the champion is.
I heard Ray Lewis once say that why not have the concert, the act, not be during the game?
I agree.
And you just brought it up.
Yeah.
How about it's the pregame concert and it's like at 4:30 or 5 o'clock? The game's going to kick off at 6:30. Have that concert and before the warm-ups. Have it as part of the afternoon. It's a big concert.
Yeah, I mean, look, these guys have played hundreds of football games, 100 football games. This is the biggest one of their life. And in the hundreds of games that they've played, they've had 15 minutes at halftime to adjust, to do their routine, to go to the bathroom, all of those things. Now all of a sudden they're saying, no. No, not yet. Not yet.
35 minutes, maybe.
I know as an athlete, when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. Like, it's go time. Here we are. You're saying, nope. It's like holding a caged lion down. Can you imagine telling Brian Dawkins coming out saying, whoa. All right, all that stuff that you just did, hold on for another 15 minutes. Like, I can't stand the abnormality of the Super Bowl.
Pat, you have one?
One.
I mean, seriously, like a big one.
I got about 10.
But one like Andrew, though.
I bet you we have some similar.
Yeah, I'll rattle off just a couple. Post-game press conferences. I know we got to play them. I hate them. They're the bane of my existence. They never say anything. It's the same crap every week. I could probably give you the answer, just like I could give you the answer to what the Sixers thing was going to be with Joel Embiid.
And you guys did nail that one, right?
Power rankings. My power rankings are standings. I don't need your power rankings. That's your opinion. ESPN, CBS. Like, we used to focus so much at the station over like the power ranking day, and we'd have 14 different power rank. Just look at the standings. Like, that's the ultimate power ranking. Can't stand power rankings. The preseason anything. NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, doesn't matter. If it doesn't count, I can't stand it. Schedule release. We're making a full day over the schedule release? Like, games that aren't getting played in 6 months?
Now watch your mouth.
Hate the schedule release.
Love it.
The wave at baseball games. The ultimate, I'm not paying attention. I'd rather mimic the ocean.
Okay, I love
Just
that one.
Leave. And then Thursday Night Football. We got into this a little bit the other day, but Thursday Night Football, it's a bad product. It's forced. Just make it Friday. Can't stand it.
I like it.
Those were a few that came to mind.
Boy, that's excellent. That is absolutely awesome.
It was pretty good.
You regurgitated quite a bit there.
Yeah.
I mean, you did.
There's things that just chat my posterior.
I would say the Phillies do so few things ever wrong at Citizens Bank Park. I think Citizens Bank Park may be his most perfect experience that I ever have as a consumer. As far as in my sports history, I would put it as the number one place I've ever gone where I always walk out and say I had a good experience at Citizens Bank Park. I hate that stupid scoreboard with all the blah, 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 blah on it. All the here's your RISVIP and Big Blop and all the stats. Just give us the stats that every baseball fan knows on the big board. And there's nothing. I mean, honestly, I think 99.9% of what the Phillies execute in that building is perfect. Whoever are the stat nerds that did that with the Jumbotron, they tried to affect it a little bit last year. They changed it when they got a little pushback, but it's too much garbage.
That's pretty good.
Clean it up. Make it easy for the average fan.
All right, I got one now.
Yes.
How about when the Sixers have the basketball and they play that stupid-ass music all the time for 15 to 20 years over and over and over, and then when the other team gets the ball, it's dun, 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 dun. Like, change it up.
Yeah, I don't like the music. The Mr. Burns. Excellent.
Oh my God!
Stop it!
Just
so
let
overkill.
them play. If you want to play music at important times or something, I can't stand in basketball games. Yeah, professional, not just here, anywhere. When they're playing music when a team has the ball, that's all-star game type of stuff or whatever. No, just like, why music while they're playing? I don't like. Yeah, I don't like that, and especially the Sixers haven't played, and then when they make a foul shot, it drives me.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's saying. The Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns. Honestly, is Mr. Burns that relevant?
Yes, but
anymore?
I don't know.
No, really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Simpsons they're still a.
I think the Simpsons are way behind a lot of other animated stuff still. Don't you?
Juggernaut, but I think everybody knows who Mr. Burns is. It's just tired at this point. I don't remember when they didn't do it, which is troubling. So it's probably time. Long. It's probably time to fix it. It's funny because I'm sure, I had a list of 7 things, and I'm sure there are people that are like, I like all those things, and then there's going to be people that go, I can't stand this, that, and the third, and I'm like, I love that part of sports. So it's funny how our opinions are so different when it comes to things that just really grind our gears. That in the grand scheme of things don't really matter. The thing that we just talked about, it doesn't really matter. But for whatever reason, you can't get around it. You brought up, Bob, a couple weeks ago, women's basketball. They wear makeup.
Oh yeah, can't stand
and it's
that.
like it's the most innocuous thing.
It sure is.
But it's like, yeah, for whatever reason, it just grinds your gears.
Now
for a guy that like doesn't even look at uniforms and couldn't tell you after covering a game who wore what, I cannot stand looking at long eyelashes and makeup when people are playing basketball.
Hey,
I don't know why.
If you can drop 35 and look like a snack, I mean, more power to you.
I would tell you.
I hear you.
I would tell you when we were every time I go to a hockey game as a fan and just sit in the stands, I say please. I remember when between plays there was music, but it was organ music, and it was not blasting like pop music or whatever it is that they decide to play. I enjoyed, and when the Flyers at the game, when they do play organ music, they do sometimes during between plays, the organ will just take over, and I don't know if it's pre-done or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It sounds like an old barn. It sounds like that atmosphere. I don't need to be inundated with the, the 97.5, the Fanatic foul shot is going to be followed by the Pico. Now we got somebody trying to play beer pong, and now we get it's like I know you're trying to sell it, and I know you're trying to do that. All sports do it, by the way. The hat. Where's the ball under the hat? There's like it's almost like we can't give you a second to just sit back and enjoy.
Because that's what society is now, right? You're amazing. Moving all over the place all the time.
I do. It's weird that you bring that up because I'm with you with all the sports except baseball. I like that crap. Like I like because
it has to keep you entertained.
You mean you like it during a hockey game?
No. I'm saying I don't like it hockey. I don't like it in football. I don't like it in basketball. But at a baseball game in between innings, I like the little. We're gonna ask the players a stupid question and then. You get the bongo can. I go hard at the bongo can.
I don't have any problem with stuff that tells us about the players. I think that's funny.
Yeah, I like
what are you streaming? What are you streaming right now? They're asking the Phillies players. But the idea of we're going to section 232. Who can catch the? Can we flip the bottle cap across the?
I'm over the ball under the hat thing completely.
Yes.
I just check out.
Well, you were
never
good at it.
I'm great at it.
Oh, are you? I'm sorry.
Take that back,
fault.
dude.
You know what else is starting to get on me a little bit too? And this is where's the clouds and where's my lawn? I don't need the 25-second handshake with all different individuals. All right, if I come in the morning and I see John, I give a 25-second handshake with John. Then I see Pat, and it's a different one for 25 seconds.
So,
I think it's. I used to sit right there, and the players would do it right in front of me. But yeah, now it's but if I go on Twitter or anything, and they show teachers that do it with their kids when they come into school. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, where the teacher sits at the door
awesome.
and they have their own little...
just warms my heart so much. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a different little thing. It's a good subject, John.
Hey, Jerry joined. Is it Jerry or Gerald?
It's Jerry L.
Hi, Jerry L. How are you, buddy?
Good, John. But I know you usually have Davey on at the end of the show a lot of times where he calls in about the Phils. But I had a funny story. I work down the Citizens Bank as well. The shuttle bus we take in, one day I'm sitting next to this young lady. I say, hi. We start, so what do you do? She says, I operate the scoreboard. And it was about 2 weeks into the season. I said, can I tell you something? Nobody cares about half the statistics you have up there. I said, if you could mention that to somebody to just get back to basics on the scoreboard, 80% of your audience is happy.
If you put something on a scoreboard, Jerry L., if you put something on a scoreboard and 75% of the crowd would not know it off the top of their head, that's just dumb to me.
Yeah, it was a nice try. They threw out a lot of the numbers, 70% bigger and some of the other things. Yeah, it was basically the same scoreboard.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Way,
yes.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, there are more people that are excited about the trolley cars, whatever else they race through the city, who wins those races, and under what hat the ball is incredible. There are cheers sometimes.
It is. There's a lot of times where, and I know professional sports teams will look at this and say that it's like 20% of the people are the diehards that are there for the game. And then others are there. And it drives Pat crazy. every single October.
Yeah.
After we get past the wild card round.
Every time. Yeah, you get the people
Pat
that
wrong. Crazy.
Yeah, the people that get priced out and they either spent all their money trying to watch the team get to that point, or you get the people that just they have a lot of money, so they just hop on the bandwagon. Oh, this is kitschy. We'll go to the Phillies game, and then they can't tell you anything about the team other than Bryce Harper. But it's a reality that's just the only team that it doesn't really happen for is the Eagles. But every other team, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, yeah, if you go deep in the playoffs, it's going to happen. And it's no different in any other city, by the way. I mean,
no, it's not.
I've been to playoff games in New York where like you got guys that clearly got the playoff tickets from their hedge fund boss, and I mean, wouldn't know a puck if it hit him in the face, but they can give you a great stock tip.
Are you challenging someone to throw something in their face?
For some of those Rangers fans, absolutely.
You would absolutely want that. You would take a little bit of that there. It is interesting that there's such things that can set you off at a game. I know there's so many things you don't like. I know that I think people coming to sporting events to eat and to drink, when that's first and second on your priority, that just drives me nuts. Like watching other people just coming and going constantly up and down and up and down. And look, I got the loaded nachos. I got the churros. And it's like up and down the whole time. I'm like, did you come to watch the game or did you come to eat? Because the food's great at Citizens Bank Park and a lot of these
they'll do a little bit of both.
Yeah, but that's different. Yeah. But are you up and down or are you watching the game?
No, the up and down nature, like me and my mom have complained about this before. When we've gone to games, it was sports etiquette of like, dude, wait till the end of a play. And even baseball, I mean, it's sped up, but even baseball, before these rules changed, it was like, you can't wait till the end of an inning. And the ushers are pretty good about keeping people there and explaining now, like, all right, wait for a stoppage. But like, I've been at hockey games before where it's like in the middle of a play and someone just decides, I got to go to the bathroom now. It's like you couldn't
decide if you have to go to the bathroom. It decides for you.
You know, and I knew you would play devil's advocate because you are that guy. But I'm sorry. Like, I've had it where it's post-TV timeout.
No.
And we're 30 seconds into action, and it's like, oh, I'll get up now, I guess.
A bladder knows what it wants, Pat.
You can't have
Damn
to go.
It, Bob.
No one could have to go to the bathroom that fast. Like, I mean, seriously, like all of a sudden it hits you and you go,
that's happened to me a couple times here.
If I don't go to the bathroom this second.
Now, you can kind of tell if it's an emergency, and it never is. You know, they'll stop midway through the aisle. They'll turn around. You guys want a beer or something? What do you want, Stella? No? What if they don't have that? And you're like, dude, you make an incredible door, horrible window. Sit down. Drives me nuts.
Please.
My mom got into a cursing fit with a woman one time.
What?
Oh yeah,
I heard this story.
She got a cursing fit. Really?
So my mom doesn't really curse. She's kind of like you, John. She was all proper and she didn't curse. And we went to I took her up to New York to watch a game because she's a huge Rangers fan. It's where my insufferability comes with that fan base. And so there was a woman who was doing that. She kept this girl couldn't name one person on either team. And probably was drunk when she got there, and 3 times got up in the middle of the play and left. And so the game ends, and I was taking my time getting down the steps, and my mom made a beeline down there. Whoa. And I make my way down to the concourse, and I just hear my mom yelling like, "No, F you!"
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, T-Dog, what is going on? She's talking to the girl, and she goes, "I told her next time she comes to a game, know the rules."
Oh no.
Yeah, my mom's like a chihuahua. Like you just kind of you can flick her with one finger away, but I mean she's like just always yapping. So she felt the need to tell this girl the rules, and I guess the girl said F yeah, and my mom gave it back to her.
Oh boy. We know where we started the show today, and that's where we will end it. As Joel Embiid, the surgery goes down, and now we wait. And the 4-week evaluation period had us with so many different opinions and options about what it could mean. My theory being it's going to determine the next 4 weeks do they believe with this trade deadline coming tomorrow, do they believe they have something to really push for in the next 4 weeks? I don't believe they're going to be all in on trying to build this thing up.
Yeah, that's a question. I don't know if I can get down there or not tonight, but that's a question to be asked. My biggest question is, what is the plan for these 4 weeks? Is it to have him do some sort of exercise to let you know where he is at that 4-week mark? Is it total rest? Combination of both? I'm sure the answer would be combination of both. But, because of what the very, very short statement told us yesterday, yeah, I think it lends to a lot of questions about what's next.
And Pat and I both wouldn't be opposed to selling. Strategically.
I'm in full sell mode.
Strategic selling, because I think their statement tells me they don't really know. We'll reevaluate in 4 weeks. That's, put the hands up.
No, that tells me they don't want us to know.
Yes.
I don't ever doubt that they know.
That they figure it out.
I think they know exactly where they are. I just don't think
your
they want
gut
us
instinct.
to know.
Your gut instinct. We have the trade deadline tomorrow. We'll be on trade watch all day long. Pat will be up in the trade copter.
All right, one word to describe tomorrow's trade deadline. I will say underwhelming.
I was going to say uneventful.
Okay.
So we're on the same type of path.
Yeah, pick another synonym for that. Yeah, that's mine too.
Well, hopefully we'll have some excitement break out today. Obviously, the best show ever. And Andrew Salchunas and Ray Dunn in middays will be able to catch you through anything that breaks, anything interesting as the trade deadline approaches. We are now within, we're within 29 hours of the trade deadline. It's getting real. It's getting real. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, H&H Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR, because cancer research saves lives. More fun and frivolity coming your way next. We'll find out what else Andrew Salchunas hates. Don't tell him you want to read a mock draft. We'll have a big day tomorrow for you. We look forward to it with Game Time tomorrow. Fabulous prizes. Your chance to go to the outdoor game in Jersey, too. So stick around with us tomorrow morning at 6. Andrew's coming your way.